If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 81. Snorlax. The Pokémon Sumo Conference is very different from any regular battle-style tournament. After the banning various moves, there are no type differences between Pokémon. During the battle, the only things that need to be analyzed are the opponent's body composition and weight. Like the battle going on right now, it's Feraligatr vs. Golem. Originally, Feraligatr could completely defeat Golem, but now, the Golem's body mainly composed of rock and its weight of 300 kilograms gave Feraligatr a great threat. At the beginning of the game, the two Pokémon collided decisively to compete. In terms of weight and strength, Feraligatr has a huge innate disadvantage. However, Rhydon suddenly ordered, "Feraligatr, relax your body." During this wrestling process, once Feraligatr withdrew his strength, Golem immediately fell forward with his heavy body. Seizing this moment, Feraligatr punched Golem with his fist. Rhydon made good use of Golem's weight and in turn knocked his opponent down because of their own weight. This is the highlight of this battle. Now it's time for Ash to come on stage. Snorlax's opponent is a Poliwrath that has evolved to its final form, a powerful physical water type. Come on, Poliwrath! As soon as the battle started, the Poliwrath from the opposite side rushed over quickly, with amazing momentum. Then he hit Snorla's soft and elastic belly, and was immediately ejected and fell out of the field. Snorlax, 246/255. Thank you for your hard work. Ash casually threw an energy bar over. This energy bar is a special Snorlax snack produced by the system. It is rich in nutrients and extremely high in calories. It is especially good for quenching hunger, but the price is no cheaper than Snorlax's special food. This is what Ash uses to train Snorlax. Snur. This is Snorlax's favorite snack. Relying on Snorlax's big belly, Ash's competition was extremely smooth and he soon reached the semi-finals. In the end, it was Blastoise vs Feraligatr, and Snorlax's opponent is a Machamp. Ash, see you in the finals. Rhydon was very confident in his Feraligatr and Ash's Snorlax. He also didn't expect that Ash, who accidentally came to this Rikashii town today, would be so strong. The battle between Feraligatr and Blastoise takes place first. This is a fierce collision between the final forms of the Kanto and Johto Region Water Royal Starter, which is obviously a must-watch battle. Ash's two Water-type starters have both evolved to their second stage. They are now making rapid progress every day under Slowking's training. Ash believes they will evolve to their final stage soon enough. Misty is in a dilemma. Both sides are Water-type, and both are strong and majestic. She is confused about which side to cheer for. It was evenly matched for most of the battle. The two Water-type Pokémon collided together, and Feraligatr's power seemed to have the upper hand, slowly pushing Blastoise back. Knock it off the stage. Feraligatr exerted force and pushed Blastoise to the side, about to throw it out of bounds. But Blastoise stood firm with his strong lower limbs. Under his trainer's order, he jumped and rotated hard and hit Feraligatr hard with the cannons on his back. The power of this move cannot be underestimated. However, Feraligatr's figure was much more flexible than Blastoise, who was carrying a heavy shell, and he avoided this shoulder attack with a twist of his body. This time, Blastoise's back is to Feraligatr. The opportunity has come. Feraligatr exerted force and hit Blastoise on the back, causing Blastoise to fly towards the border uncontrollably. However, at the critical moment, Blastoise stopped abruptly, turned around and launched a fierce palm push towards Feraligatr again. It is unimaginable that Blastoise can attack at such a speed. Feraligatr was forced into a desperate situation, and he might be able to push it out of the field with two more blows. Blastoise was also preparing to launch a killing blow at this moment. This palm strike was powerful enough that it would not be able to be followed. However, between the thrusts, Feraligatr ducked and avoided the attack of the palm. Instead, he hit Blastoise's chin from bottom to top, and then firmly grasped the cannons behind it, and pushed it away at once. Feraligatr got the victory. This battle was wonderful. In comparison, the battle for Ash and his Snorlax was much easier. Snorlax remained unchanged, Machamp hit Snorlax's stomach and was ejected. The two sides finally met in the finals. Ash wanted to know if Rhydon and Feraligatr could face Snorlax's big belly. And now Snorlax is already in the transitional stage of bond evolutions. Snorlax, 249/255. Ash, you are really powerful, but I will not lose. The championship will be mine. Throughout the heaven and the earth, my Snorlax is the strongest. The battle soon started. Feraligatr, push it out. It's a head-on confrontation from the beginning, and Rhydon is very courageous. Sure enough, Rhydon had already understood the strength of Snorlax's belly. Feraligatr's palm was on the upper side and was not bounced back. Instead, it pushed Snorlax out of bounds little by little. Smart of you there. Ash was not surprised at all. He is a professional Pokémon sumo trainer. Snorlax, knock him away. With such a strong body and elastic belly, of course you have to take advantage of it. Snorlax's bulging belly pushed forward and immediately launched Feraligatr away. Seeing this, Rhydon gritted his teeth. That stomach was really difficult to deal with. Ash's Snorlax is very large and extremely heavy. Feraligatr is very strong, but he can't forcefully push it out because of the weight difference. The best way would be to use the opponent's weight in turn, just like when facing Golem. However, Snorlax didn't use his hands to fight Feraligatr at all, but uses his belly to push it. How to fight this? Ash is getting happier with the battle as it continues to go on. So close. Snorlax B253/255. I just don't know why Snorlax doesn't have elemental ball like Charizard, Houndoom, Pikachu, or any of his other Bond Evolutions Pokémon. Maybe it's because he is a normal type. On the surface, nothing has changed at all. No, there are still some. There seem to be a few beautiful stripes on Snorlax's body, and there seems to be a pair of eyes slowly opening on his belly. The eyes that had been squinting seemed to be shining with scarlet light. Snorlax, who was already scary enough, now looks even more ferocious. Snorlax, jump on the spot. Another weird order, everyone was confused. However, Snorlax jumped slightly, jumped half a meter high, and then slammed down hard. The heavy force caused the entire venue to tremble. Just a slight jump caused an effect comparable to earthquake. Everyone subconsciously held on to the railings around them, and Rhydon could only try his best to stabilize his body. Snorlax, 255/255. Push Feraligatr out now. Ash asked Snorlax to jump just to make Feraligatr unable to dodge. Snorlax successfully knocked him away from the arena and finally won the championship. The prize for the champion of the Sumo Conference is a King's Rock and a year's worth of Pokémon food. Snorlax was not picky about food at all. He poured all of it into his mouth, and even asked Ash for more food. Ash gave it another energy bar and he was finally satisfied. Name, Ash Snorlax. Attribute, Normal. Ability, Immunity, will not fall into poisoned condition. Thick Fat, protected by thick fat, having the damage of fire and ice type moves. Moves, Yawn, Rest, Snore, Sleep Talk, Heavy Impact, Amnesia, High Horsepower, Ice Punch, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Hyper Beam, Protect. Chapter 82 The Mysterious Mask. Leaving the vicinity of Rikishiite Town, Ash played with the King's Rock that was awarded to him in this competition after winning. This is a much more precious item than any regular evolution stone, but Ash doesn't like it. He can use exchange points to exchange for various items, and the props produced by the system are much better than the ones in this reality. The King's Rock used by Slowking is redeemed from the system mall. This thing is just not worth comparing at all. The King's Rock redeemed by the system has a unique texture, just like a real gold crown. And now this one can only be said to be a piece of that perfect crown. The crown that was left after the fall of the kingdom. It's best to keep it for now. Big brother, it's time to eat. Molly ran over hurriedly, and then came to his side. Now the group of friends are enjoying their lunch by a clear river. As long as there are some suitable conditions, Ash will summon Lapras and let him enjoy the feeling of a water body. Now, Lapras has an extra playmate, Wardardle. After such a long journey, Snorlax finally completed his bond evolutions. Ash temporarily teleported him to Professor Oak's lab, followed Slowking's suggestion, and replaced him with Wardardle. As one of the oldest members of the team and having traveled with Lapras before, Wardardle can take good care of the younger Lapras. It's done, Golbat, it's time to eat. Brock prepared all the food for Pokémon, and asked Molly to send Lapras and Wardardle's portion of the food to their side in the water. Misty looked at the Golbat and said, "You are truly someone worth learning from, Brock. How did you do all this? Your Golbat is developing so well." This Golbat has been following Brock and the group for a long time. It was caught by Brock when he was at Mt. Moon. It was just a Zubat at that time. On that windy rainy night, when Ash met up with Suicune again, Brock's Zubat evolved. Unlike the diminutive Zubat, Golbat is 1.6 meters tall. It would be very scary if there were such a big bat with such a big mouth in real life. Just as he was about to eat, Golbat, who was enjoying his meal, suddenly flew away, as if he sensed something wrong. Ash, Brock, Misty, and Molly quickly packed their bags, took back all their Pokémons, and chased after the flying Golbat. When they caught up with him and took a look at their surroundings, they discovered that Golbat had found a pretty girl with short red hair. Judging from her clothes, she must be a researcher doing Pokémon research. After the introduction, the group learned that her name was Tiara. Brock was helping her repair the broken ultrasonic scanner. Golbat was probably attracted by the ultrasonic waves of this machine. Now he is being used by Brock to replace the broken ultrasonic machine. Tiara is using ultrasound to explore the sleeping temple beneath the nearby ruins. It turns out that an ancient text tablet was dug up nearby not long ago, which recorded that in the nearby ruins, there was a queen wearing a gold mask and holding a powerful staff who could control Pokémon at will. Tiara believes that the temple under this ruins is the place where that mysterious queen was worshipped long ago. She wants to uncover the secret of this ability to freely control Pokémon. Ash couldn't help but said, "Don't you think this is a bad thing? Moreover, this so-called manipulation of Pokémon without any bonds should be completely useless. They need a bond of some sort to work together." Ash is right. This is not something a Pokémon trainer should think about. Misty nodded in complete approval. That's right. Even Molly understood this truth. However, Tiara is not a trainer, but a researcher. For her, exploring the truth is what she needs to do. Ash and his party understood this, but some people couldn't stand his words. Team Rocket, who had been following them, again, overheard these words and immediately made the wrong idea. The golden mask and that staff. Then we can definitely control that Pikachu. And that Rayquaza. And all the rare Pokémon in the world. Jessie was dreaming about all this, and suddenly the three of them were enveloped in blue light, and they couldn't help but rise into the air, and then appeared in front of Ash and his bunch. "Young master? Why is it you again?" Meowth was the first to jump up and rage on. Ash was also happy. "I have sensed your presence a long time ago. Miss Tiara's excavation machine is broken. Come help us with this and find it with us later." Ash really admired Team Rocket's mechanical invention ability. It had brought the group a lot of troubles before, but now he looked down on those toys. Under the influence of Ash, the Rockets team quickly came up with the Dig-A-Tron based on Tiara's excavation machine, and took the team and Tiara underground. Facts have proved that Ash's decision to ask Team Rocket for help was correct. The ground here is very soft, and after digging out the cave, the road behind it quickly collapsed. Without this Dig-A-Tron from Team Rocket, people in the past would probably have been trapped underground after they came down. Team Rocket, you can be quite reliable sometimes, you know. You should leave that low-paying job of being a grunt and get a job worth your talent/skill price. You guys are way too talented in these kind of things to be chasing us all the time." Misty stood next to Ash holding Tijupai in her arms. Looking at the Team Rocket trio who were busy controlling the machine, Misty couldn't help but praise them. Wabwabafei thought she was praising him, and suddenly jumped out and got carried away. Then he looked up and saw Ash, jumping away from him. When Ash rescued him before, it seemed to have left a shadow on it. The Team Rocket trio on the other hand was really thinking of what Misty just said right now. Ash ignored him. According to the supersonic detection of Brock's Golbat, the temple was right ahead. Sure enough, when the rock wall was opened, and everyone saw something in front of them. A golden mask and a staff with a red orb on top of it appeared in front of everyone. Jessie reacted the fastest and suddenly jumped out, put the golden mask on her face, and then grabbed the tin staff. "No!" Misty couldn't help but exclaimed. "Power, I feel power." Jessie's voice was trembling, and she waved her magical staff and looked at Ash and his party. "Why don't you come and pay homage to me, the queen?" As she spoke, she first pointed the tin stick at Meowth who ran to her side. "Meowth, do a dance." They saw a red light flashing from Meowth's body, and it couldn't help but start to circle 3 times to the left and 3 times to the right. Seeing that the golden mask was really useful, Jessie pointed the tin stick at Pikachu. "Pikachu, use Thunderbolt on that brat." However, although Pikachu's body flashed red, but he just shook his head, and nothing serious happened. Ash chuckled, "Do you think such low-level mental control can cut off our bond?" "What?" Jessie was confused. Pikachu. Ash simply shook his head. Thunderbolt. The galloping thunder once again swept across the rocket trio, but this was deep underground. How could they fly out? Ash snatched the gold mask and staff. Such things have long since disappeared from the modern era. No. Tiara had no time to stop her, and watched helplessly as Ash crushed these two ancient items to pieces. Chapter 83 GS Ball. We should be arriving soon, the White Town in the Johto Region's designated historical heritage area. Brock looked at the introduction in the travel brochure and quickly aroused everyone's interest. Soon, the white limestone town was in sight. Looking down from the hillside, the scenery of the entire town is very elegant, as if it has come into reality from a painting. The white buildings were noble and elegant, and it has a unique charm under the bright sunlight. After finding the Pokémon Center here, Nurse Joy immediately recognized Ash. You are Ash Ketchum, right? Professor Oak has a message for you. Professor Oak's message? Ash was a little confused. When he was in Rikashii Town, Ash had just talked with Professor Oak and changed Snorlax with Warderdle. It has not been a week yet. What is going on? Although he was confused, Ash dialed Professor Oak's phone number as soon as possible. Professor Oak, I'm in Whitestone Town, do you have anything to ask me? Ash asked. Grandpa Oak, how are you? Molly stuck to Ash's side and greeted Professor Oak. Seeing that Molly was in good spirits, the old professor was relieved. Ever since Molly started to travel with Ash, he asked Ash to always call him to report that she was safe. Molly, tell Grandpa what you saw along the way. Professor Oak said with that loving look on his face. Big Brother found a mask that can control Pokémon. This matter is not trivial. Professor Oak's face suddenly darkened. Ash, how and where is that mask now? I cruised it with my hands. Ash really didn't care at all about this. By the way, I'll send the remainings back to you. It should arrive in the next 2 days. It's made of pure gold and some other stuff. According to the unearthed stone tablet records, the control of this mask is only limited to the local village, and it cannot be used outside the village. In this case, Professor Oak is relieved. No, Molly, your big brother has caught some incredible Pokémon and has been hiding it from Grandpa. Professor Oak then remembered that there was another important thing to ask Ash. Molly is a good girl, you won't help your brother hide it from me, your grandpa, right? Ash thought, let's see who Molly loves more, you or me. Sure enough, Molly immediately covered her mouth, refused to say anything, and ran away. Obviously, Ash won this round. Professor, isn't it about Ray Cow? I promised Molly to catch the legendary beast trio, now I just need to catch Suicune and Entei. Don't be so sad. You will have your time. Seeing Professor Oak's deflated look, Ash said with a smile. Professor Oak was really angry when he heard what Ash said. Is this a trivial matter to you? You are still hiding it from me. Do you know how much effort I put into getting you that Lapras egg? Then I caught Ray Cow, what reward did you give me? Ash said that he is lacking nothing but Pokémon. If Professor Oak is willing to give him another Pokémon egg, he would gladly accept it without any hesitation. If a reward for catching Ray Cow is a Pokémon egg, then what about Suicune, Entei, Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos? Professor Oak directly detected Ash's little thoughts. Boy, didn't you say you wanted to catch Entei and Suicune? If you really do it, I will prepare another big gift for you. Now, teleport Ray Cow here. I want to examine him. Professor Oak demanded directly. What else can he do other than just listen? Ash regretfully teleported Ray Cow and brought Venusaur back. Now, 2 of the Kanto's members are back. They have accumulated enough strength and a good foundation. After this period of training, Ash believed they will evolve soon. Ray Cow, please take charge of Houndoom's training. Letting a legendary Pokémon help train his Houndoom will definitely help him become stronger a lot faster. Ash also needs to keep improving his level. By the way, Ash, there's one more thing. After Ray Cow went back inside his Ultra Ball, Professor Oak finally put away his fiery eyes. Ash nodded and waited for Professor Oak's next words. Well, Kurt contacted me a few days ago. I didn't expect that even a Pokeball expert like him could not figure out the secret of this GS ball. Professor Oak felt itchy because of the GS ball and its mysterious. As a Pokemon professor, he really couldn't stand this kind of unknown exploration. Did Mr. Kurt even find anything? Professor Oak shook his head. Kurt only found that there is a very strange lock on the GS ball, but he doesn't know how to unlock it. Maybe unlocking the lock can unlock the secret of the GS ball. Professor Oak, what do you need me to do? The main mission of Ash and his team when they came to Johto Region was to give the GS ball to Kurt. Now it seems that this mission has a follow-up. No wonder, after all, the mission reward hasn't appeared to him yet. Professor Oak said, Kit's granddaughter, Maisie, should be arriving at Whitestone soon. Please wait for her. We asked her to send the GS ball there. She is coming over. Of course Ash remembers the young girl who took them to pick those apricorn fruits, but why is such a young girl coming alone? Professor Oak, on the other hand, was very relieved. Don't worry, the Alliance has specialized personnel who will be responsible for express delivery, she is just following along to have fun. Hearing this, AHS understood. Ash, I have seen your progress during this period. I think if it were you, you might be able to solve the mystery of GS ball during the journey, so I'm begging you, find what that ball is. Professor Oak said suddenly. It turns out that Professor Oak did not ask him to bring GS ball back to Pallet Town at all, but instead gave him the task of unraveling the mystery of GS ball. Ash didn't think much about it and just said, I will definitely try my best. Celebi. After hanging up the phone, Ash and his group enjoyed the food at the Pokémon Center, and soon Maisie came. Ash, Misty, Brock, long time no see. The person who escorted Maisie here turned out to be an old acquaintance of them. Miss Ramona. Brock was the first one to rush up and grabbed her hand. It is really a destiny destined by God to meet again at such a romantic historical site. He lay on the ground again. Come on, ride on the brave Brock. Yes, this is the girl who used 3 Arcanine to do errands. After the fire-type Pokémon competition ended, she said goodbye to the group. Unexpectedly, they met again today. As Brock said, it was indeed fate. Ash, we meet again. Maisie came to Ash, but noticed Molly beside Ash. A girl who was a little older than her said, Hello, I'm Maisie. My name is Molly, and this is Jigglypuff. Molly ran out from behind Ash and introduced herself. The two little girls got to know each other quickly, and it took Maisie a while to come back to her senses. Ash, this is for you. She handed over the GS ball, followed by another poke ball. This is Grandpa's reward for you from last time. This is a pink poke ball, called the heal ball, which can restore the injuries of captured Pokémon and cure their status conditions. This is absolutely a very powerful ball. Chapter 84 Venusaur. Leaving Whitestone Town, Ash and his party crossed a breeze-swept plateau and came to a silent forest. Seeing that it was getting late and they should have their lunch, the group who originally planned to camp happened to find a herb garden. This was discovered by Lapras. Because there was a large stream in the forest, Ash released him to play in the water. Not far from the other side of the stream, it discovered this herb garden. Grandma Bella, this tastes delicious. The owner of this herb garden is an elderly grandma. She breeds a lot of flowers and plants in this small garden. It is said that they are all herbs that are helpful for Pokémon, but they don't taste very good. Which makes sense. Of course, she also brewed some delicious tea with all these herbs/ingredients, which Molly was full of praise for. I'm happy to hear that you like it. These teas are made from herbs that I and the Pokémon brewed together. In the depths of this peaceful forest, Grandma Bella and the Pokémon enjoyed a quiet and happy life. It's really enviable for some to live the last moment of their life in this way, away from towns and cities. Just in the wild. Ash released all his Pokémon, except Lapras who stayed in the stream, and Meganium who had been carrying Molly on the trip. There's also Wartortle, Ivysaur, and Noctowl. The 5 of them and Molly are watering the herbs with Grandma Bella's Machoke and Bellossom. It's rare to let them relax like this, and maybe the training effect will be better after a relaxing session like this. Everyone looked very happy. Without paying attention to what they are doing, those guys got themselves covered in mud. This is because when surrounded by flowers and plants, the heart becomes very peaceful. Grandma Bella looked at Ash and the others. You can stay here today. My place has not been so lively for a very long time. Thank you so much. As soon as he finished speaking, a dazzling light suddenly appeared in the medicine garden. Ash's eyes lit up, and he heard the familiar heartbeat in his mind. Calm and powerful. The one that is evolving in the herb garden is obviously Ivysaur, who has been suppressing himself and finally evolved under Sloking's persuasion not long ago. When it finally decided to unleash its potential and begin to evolve, its bond with Ash also began to increase significantly. However, the problem is that in the process of evolving to Venusaur, its size will become very huge. If it evolves here, Grandma Bella's herb garden may be destroyed. However, Ivysaur's evolution must not be interrupted. It doesn't matter. If the herbs are destroyed, they can be replanted. The evolution of Pokémon comes first. Grandma Bella understands this, but Ash still hopes to get the best of both worlds as much as possible. Ivysaur, can you hear me? Ash could only shout to Ivysaur. Ivysaur, shrouded in the light of evolution, nodded slightly. We have to leave Grandma Bella's herb garden. Ash knew that Ivysaur definitely didn't want to destroy this peaceful and beautiful place. Ivysaur began to move, and the light of evolution on his body became stronger and stronger. Its size began to increase dramatically, and the buds on its back finally bloomed, forming a huge flower. Unlike Meganium, which has a floral fragrance during its evolution, Venusaur has an elegant and pleasant fragrance during its evolution. No. It's still destroyed. Brock said softly that it was a pity. During the evolution process, Venusaur was unable to control its ever-increasing size. Its hind legs moved backward during the evolution process, and it still pushed down many medicinal plants. These are the herbs that Grandma Bella carefully breeds. Boom! Venusaur, 248/255. Before it has completely evolved, Venusaur's compatibility has reached close to the peak with the evolution, and its bond value is also extremely high. The light of evolution cracked, revealing the huge flower, 6 pieces of red petal with white spots, supported by a brown trunk similar to a brown palm tree. The whole of Venusaur also reaches 2.2 meters tall, which is very huge if you couldn't tell. The dark patches before evolution are gone, replaced by bumps similar to toads. Combined with the red eyes, it looks a bit fierce. That's great, Ash, you now have 2 full evolved grass-type Pokémon that are very powerful. Grandma Bella looked at the evolved Venusaur and Meganium with admiration in her heart. She didn't feel sorry for the destruction of her herb garden at all. She was really touched to see such a powerful Pokémon evolve. Venusaur, 255/255. Looking at the mess around him, Venusaur left the herb garden and came to Ash. It and Ash looked at each other, and the bond value reached its peak at this moment. Bond evolutions happened again. The 6 pieces of red petal on the back suddenly grew and once again completely enveloped Venusaur. The light of evolution shined again. Venusaur is actually evolving again. Grandma Bella was completely shocked. Misty, Brock, Molly and the other Pokémons were not that surprised. Meganium called loudly behind them, happy that her senior had finally reached his final form. That's right, evolve and gain power beyond any grass-type legends. Become stronger and stronger. Ash could sense Venusaur's thoughts. Venusaur, wrapped in petals and shrouded in the light of evolution, let out an explosive roar. Then, the petals opened and retracted, and the flower became even bigger, reaching a height of 3 meters, and its figure was extremely amazing. A 6-petal red flower bloomed on its forehead, and a diamond-shaped and 2 triangular blue marks appeared on his forehead. The powerful Venusaur has the power to control nature. It can make flowers bloom, trees grow, and it can freely control vines. Ash smiled confidently and murmured these words. Name, Ash Venusaur. Attribute, grass, poison. Ability, chlorophyll, speed will increase in sunny weather. Thick fat, protected by thick fat, having the damage of fire type and ice type moves. Skills, petal dance, power whip, razor leaf, poison powder, leaf storm, double edge, synthesis, solar beam. Venusaur looked up to the sky and roared. The power of the sun was absorbed by the huge flower on its back, and was transmitted to the ground along its body. A miracle happened. The destroyed and toppled herbs grew again, growing crazily at a speed visible to the naked eye, and then began to bloom with gorgeous flowers. Under the setting sun, the entire herb garden begins to glow with vitality, and the power of life is shining brightly. The herb garden is resurrected and growing even better than before because of the nature energy Venusaur added onto them. Grandma Bella was very touched. These herbs grew even better than when she tried. She didn't expect that it was just a good deed to take in these traveling children, and she could have such a harvest. Especially, this boy named Ash. Chapter 85 The Race. Ash's 2 grass-type starters have both completed the evolution of their final forms, as well as their bond evolution. As Ash expected, when they complete their final evolution, their bond value will also increase very quickly. As a result, among Ash's 6 starter Pokémon, only the 2 water type have not yet evolved. Judging from Wartortle's form, it should be able to evolve very soon. After Ash found the next Pokémon Center, he teleported Venusaur back, and then teleported Typhlosion back to him, intending to complete his bond evolution as soon as possible. Is it them? Ash and his group met an acquaintance as soon as they came out of the Pokémon Center. No need to guess, it was the Rockets trio. By the way, why are you used to calling us like this? Ash didn't even bother to complain about them after all the things they went through together. Team Rocket, what bad things do you want to do this time? Misty asked a very good question. However, this time the Rockets actually defended themselves and said they had no intention of doing anything bad. Meowth stood up and said, "We are going to participate in the hot air balloon race here." Meow. Ash remembered that when they entered the town, they saw a cross in a circle on the grassland outside the town. It's a competition where you ride a hot air balloon, from a height of 1,000 feet in the sky, and drop the marker most accurately on the target on the ground. Brock checked the travel brochure to explain the method of this hot air balloon competition. Hot air balloon contest. Molly became interested. "Big brother, can we participate?" "But we don't have a hot air balloon." Ash rubbed Molly's head. This competition doesn't use Pokémon very much, so he is not that much interested in this kind of competition. Unexpectedly, Molly pointed at Team Rocket and said, "Don't they have one?" Of course the Rockets have a hot air balloon, and they are planning to use that hot air balloon to participate in this. So, Ash, who didn't want to let Molly down, looked at the Team Rocket trio. Misty nodded, "That's fine, Team Rocket, just lend us the hot air balloon you guys use. Last time, Ash helped you rescue your Wobbuffet. Anyway, when you said you were participating in the competition, anyway, you will be cheating in that competition. So, let us use this." Hearing this, Meowth was furious at this. This time we have to participate in the competition with integrity. He actually sounded very righteous when he said this. It's about the dignity of our hot air balloon skills, and therefore we must win the championship. "And you, can you even fly a hot air balloon?" Meowth asked a very good question. This is really not possible. Ash still feels that riding Charizard is the most comfortable and didn't pay attention to this. As he spoke, Ash's eyes lit up. "Speaking of which, your hot air balloon is driven by Meowth, right?" "Of course, I'm the best." "That's it, Misty, Brock, tie up Jessie and James. Meowth, Molly and I will compete in this race." It's such a simple yet effective decision. The Team Rocket trio didn't even have a chance to refuse. Jessie and James were already tied up and taken back to the Pokémon Center. Then Ash took Meowth and Molly to sign up for this competition. "Okay, sit carefully in the hot air balloon and hold on to something." Hearing Molly cheers, Misty smiled and said, "Ash, be careful that she doesn't get hurt." "Molly, be careful up there." "Meowth, make sure to win this." Brock also has several younger brothers and sisters, so he understands Misty's worry for Molly. Some time later, the sun was shining brightly, the sky was clear and the breeze was blowing, making the people feel relaxed and happy. It was a good time to host the annual hot air balloon competition. There are a lot of hot air balloons gathered outside the town, including those that look like Hoppip, those that look like Voltorb, and those that look like Wigglytuff, etc. According to the rules of the competition, trainers can bring out the power of Pokémon, so there were 6 Hoppips pulling Hoppip's hot air balloon, and all kinds of flying-type Pokémon were gearing up. Ash took Molly and Meowth aboard Team Rocket's Meowth Balloon. In fact, he just came here to make Molly happy and add another core memory to her. Meowth was the only one who was actually serious about the competition. "It's time for you to rise, Noctowl, dazzle them." Ash had trained his Noctowl in valleys with strong winds before, so he just wanted him to train a little more this time. "No need." Before Meowth could speak, he was choked by Ash's eyes and quickly changed his words, "Ash, sir, boss." "No need, that idiot Giovanni is your boss." Ash didn't bother to pay attention to what he said, "I just let him fly with me, you can drive your own." Meowth didn't dare to speak. Misty and Brock took Jessie and James to watch the game not far away. The two had Meganium's vine whip tied to their bodies, preventing them from moving to prevent them from ruining the game again. "Well, Sir Ash, if you win the game, how will you divide the rewards?" Meowth asked tentatively. The prize of this competition is a newly developed steel burner, which is not attractive to Ash. "It's all yours if you contribute. Anyway, even if it's a steel burner, Pikachu can chop it into pieces." Ash is really confident about Pikachu's current power.
Thank you,
Meowth said. The competition started immediately, and all the hot air balloons took off together. Meowth's skills were really good, and he quickly caught the wind, and the speed of the hot air balloons immediately increased. But other hot air balloons are attracted by flying-type Pokémon, and they quickly catch up with them. Meowth is unwilling to give in. At the risk of the dignity of the hot air balloon pilot, Noctowl, please. Meowth looked at Noctowl who was following him and asked for help. Ash nodded towards Noctowl, originally intending to let him do this. With Noctowl's traction and Meowth's cooperation, hot air balloon continued to accelerate, surpassing one opponent after another. That's great. Come on. Molly danced in Ash's arms. However, great joy brings sorrow, a thundercloud suddenly formed in front of them, and many hot air balloons lost their balance and fell in the sudden change of the wind. Meowth's hot air balloon also had some problems going on.
Sir Ash.
The burner of my hot air balloon is flashing with flames, and the flame is about to go out. Our burners is cheap, so they could explode at any time and blow us away. Now this thing is about to explode. Please, big brother, please think of a solution quickly. Seeing Meowth's scared look, Ash could feel that Meowth really wanted to win the game honestly. He nodded, removed the burner of the hot air balloon, and threw it out. Sure enough, a bolt of lightning flashed across the thundercloud and it exploded. But without the burner, the hot air balloon will naturally start to fall. Typhlosion, get ready. After Typhlosion came out, Molly still lay in his arms. Typhlosion's fur was soft and warm, Molly's liked this the best about him. Typhlosion, low-powered flamethrower. Typhlosion added flames, Noctowl was responsible for traction, and Meowth controlled the air balloon, finally crossing this piece of area. It's now. Ash seized the opportunity and threw the marker down. From a height of 100 meters, he accurately hit the center of the fork. Chapter 86 Rhydon. Typhlosion, take this with you. Ash exchanged another macho brace for Typhlosion to wear. In the past week, he mostly focused on training Typhlosion and complete his final bind evolutions. Perhaps because of his old self, Ash is particularly concerned about his fire-type Pokémon. His second Pokémon that involves evolution is also a fire type, that being Houndoom. Therefore, he also has high hopes for the current Typhlosion. And he believes that Typhlosion will not let him down. Now the Macho Brace has almost become the standard equipment for Ash. The Pokémon that have completed their bond evolution, except for Pikachu and Meganium who travel with him and Charizard who is training in the Cherrycific Valley. There is also Scizor who is training in the academy. Other than that, all the rest that have completed everything are training in the lab and getting ready to be called back to him. When the bond value reached the full mark, they were connected with Ash and knew the benefits of this Macho Brace that brings to them. Although the training was very hard, they enjoyed the reward very much. Slowking, who is in charge of Ash's Pokémon's training in the backyard of Professor Oak Laboratory, wears this kind of restraint day and night and leads the others by being an example. Its speed is already slow. If the speed is reduced by half with this thing, it will actually have no impact, but the benefits are huge in the future with higher reaction speed and everything. Lap. At this moment, Lapras, who was watching his brothers and sisters training in the water, suddenly screamed in surprise. It quickly attracted the group's attention. After Lapras was born, Ash would ask the group to stop and rest whenever they encountered water along the way, let him play in the water, and train some other Pokémon. This was the case in the herb garden before, and it is still the case now. War. Then, Wartortle also seemed to have discovered something. He dived into the water, but quickly jumped out of the water with an expression on his face that he had seen a ghost. Wartortle, what's going on? Ash looked into the water and found that there was indeed something in the water, and he could see ripples on the water. Then, the ripples grew larger and larger, and a single horn suddenly poked out of the water. Big brother, what is that? Molly sat on Lapras's back and also saw the single horn. Ash shook his head, a blue light flashed on his eyes, and he was very surprised when he saw the true identity of the horn in the water. I'm going to get this guy. That's a Rhydon. In the water. Without drowning at all. Fun fact, did you know that Rhydon was the first Pokémon created? Rhydon is the evolved form of Rhyhorn. It looks like a dinosaur and is covered in grey rock armor. According to the Pokémon Pokédex created by Professor Oak, this Pokémon is protected by armor-like skin and can even survive in 2,000 degree lava. The horn that turns into a drill can easily rotate, and even rough diamonds can be easily crushed. All in all, this is a very powerful Pokémon. Moreover, the current Johto region is not yet aware of this, but Rhydon still has a final evolutionary stage left. Rhyperior is a super large Pokémon that evolved from Rhydon carrying a special protector. What's interesting is that this Rhydon is obviously of ground and rock type, but it can learn water type skills such as rain dance, hydro pump, surf, whirlpool, etc. This Rhydon must have learned the surf skill to stay in the water. Of course Ash likes such a special Pokémon. He was so excited that he was about to send Wartortle to look for it in the water. Misty immediately didn't believe it when she heard about it. There's no way a Rhydon can stay in the water. It's impossible. But it really does exist. Suddenly a nice voice came from the side. This was a pretty young lady with a green ponytail, and she was holding a Meryl in her arms. Brock rushed over immediately. What a beautiful lady. My name is Brock. May I ask for your name? My name is Pietra, and her name is Mary. She introduced herself. Brock was very excited. What a beautiful name. To express my sincerity, how about enjoying milk tea with special jam with us? Brock did well today by not causing the other to freak out, but Misty still pulled him away by his ears. Okay, don't hinder the conversation. Ash said, so, Pietra, you seem to be looking for that Rhydon in the water too, right? She nodded and led the group to a tunnel under construction, where several Dugtrio, Graveler, and Sandslash were working. This tunnel was dug out by Pietra. If you want to go to the city, you have to cross this mountain. Unfortunately, my grandma is old and her legs and feet simply can't handle all that traveling. So I want to dig a tunnel so that she can easily go to the city. This tunnel is not just a convenience for her grandma, it is a project that benefits a lot of people and should be supported by others. However, she seemed to have encountered some trouble. The tunnel is just a little bit away to being able to be penetrated. However, the excavation process will not only be blocked by the huge rock, but also seepage of groundwater. As soon as she finished speaking, a few drops of water fell on Sandslash and Graveler. They immediately stopped working and ran out in discomfort. This really makes it impossible to continue with working here, and thus the progress continues to be delayed. So you are looking for that Rhydon that can stay in the water, and hope we can help. Ash nodded. I will catch that Rhydon, and then help you open the tunnel with it. Ash immediately led the group and their new friend back to the lake. Big brother, how are we going to find that Rhydon? It's probably deep underwater. Molly looked cute and thoughtful while speaking her mind. The place where Rhydon was found has its footprints. I will take you to see it. For Pietra, as long as the tunnel can be completed, it will all be fine, so she is very happy to help. Following the huge footprints, Ash and his party found an orchard, where the fruits should be the Rhydon's favorite food. So, this is the place. A blue light flashed on Ash's body, sensing everything near him, then he looked behind him. Sure enough, the big guy was walking over from under the bushes. Wartortle, this battle is yours. Ash summoned his Wartortle. Rhydon, I challenge you to a battle. If I win, you come with me. Rhydon looked at Ash and Wartortle, nodded, and then ran. Chase him. Ash decisively ordered Wartortle after seeing the Rhydon jumping into the water. You think choosing water as your battlefield will be better for you? Wartortle, enter. The water is Wartortle's stage. Of course, it is not afraid at all and jumps down. Ash activated his power over aura and paid attention to the battle in the water by sensing them move. Rhydon confronted Wartortle in the water, and then launched the attack first. Its horns spun wildly, causing a vortex in the water. Ash's eyes lit up. This big guy actually learned Whirlpool. Where did he learn it from? Wartortle, use Rapid Spin. Use Spin to fight Spin, and beat this big guy with a real head-on confrontation. Wartortle withdrew its head and limbs and spun wildly on the spot, triggering a small vortex that collided with Rhydon's Whirlpool. The two vortices are in opposite directions and exactly cancel each other out. Wartortle, use Water Pulse to force it out. The water pulse in the water set off a huge wave. Rhydon immediately used his surf skill and stood up on the wave. But this is exactly what Ash wanted, he came out of the water. Wartortle, now, use Hydro Pump to knock it down. After evolution, Wartortle's Hydro Pump no longer requires the rotation of the turtle shell to perform. It is already very good at water-based skills, and this time it used an amazing Hydro Pump directly from its mouth. Knocking the Rhydon off the wave. Water-type attacks are super effective against rock and ground-type Pokémon like Rhydon. Even if he learned water-type moves, his typings are still weak to water. Now, Ash found the right timing and sent out one of his Pokeball. Chapter 87 Pokémon the Movie, 4EVR1. The Pokeball only flashed for a moment and then stopped. Rhydon, which could stay in the water, was successfully caught by Ash. Its strength is also very strong, and the compatibility with Ash is actually very high. It reaches 225 as soon as it is caught. As the training progresses, when it finally evolves, the compatibility will reach the max instantly. In this battle, this Rhydon also fully recognized Ash's power, and the bond value reached 120, even if it is not high right now. Ash asked his newly caught Rhydon to help Pietra create the tunnel. After that whole ordeal, the group continued in their journey and went directly to the next town. Because Rhydon was just caught, the Pokémon he could keep was full again. He came to the Pokémon Center here and planned to teleport his Noctowl back. But Professor Oak heard that this was a Rhydon that could stay in the water, and was very interested in examining it. Ash must send it over to observe and study it. He wants to know what changes will happen to the rock and ground type Pokémon when it stays in the water. There was no way he could reject the professor like this, so he immediately offered to exchange one for another, and took Rayquaza back from the lab. In this way, he currently has Pikachu, Meganium, Typhlosion, Wartortle, Lapras and Rayquaza, and boarded a ferry in this town. He had to cross a vast forest by water to reach his target, Olivine City. Look, Ash, Lapras is swimming so happily. Standing on the splint, Ash and the three of them stood side by side, looking at Lapras swimming with the fairy in the water, looking very happy. Molly is very courageous. She just sits on Lapras' back, enjoying the speed and passion. She was not afraid of falling into the water at all. She knew that Ash was always watching her and would use his psychic to save her if she was in danger. Ash, your dream is to become the Pokémon Master, right? Standing next to Ash and the other three was an older guy named White, and they had a great conversation. Ash always kept part of his attention on Molly. Yes, I am someone who will to become the Pokémon Master. So White said, there are many Pokémon in the forest near my village upstream of this river. Mr. White, please take us to that forest. As if he had already guessed what Ash would say, White immediately agreed, no problem, but I have to take my own boat ahead. Everyone was chatting about the details of going to that forest, and Pikachu seemed to have discovered something, Pika Pika. Ash also seemed to feel something off, and quickly turned his head and looked towards the river bank. He saw that familiar figure again. Suicune seems to have been following Ash ever since he came to the Johto region. At this moment, it is hidden in the fog in the mountains and forests, looming over them. Suicune! Ash suddenly shouted, next time we meet again, don't run away. On the bank of the river, Suicune seemed to nod slightly and disappeared again. Seeing this, Ash's mouth opened into a smile. What the group of people didn't know was that just outside the forest, a strong man wearing a mask kicked open a dilapidated hut and grabbed an thin old man by the neck. Hurry up and find the location of the forest where you let Celebi escape 40 years ago. It turns out that this thin old man is a Pokémon hunter, and his shotgun can be seen in this cabin. In the photos on the wall, you can see him as a young man, riding a motorcycle with Houndoom as a hunting dog beside him, looking high and mighty. 40 years ago, he was chasing Celebi, the legendary forest god with the ability to travel through time, and the guardian of the forest. Although he had seriously injured it, he still let it run away. Over the years, he has never given up hunting Celebi. It's my prey, I won't tell anyone else about this. Even though he was being strangled, the old man still spoke harshly. The strong man smiled cruelly, Humph, you are so stubborn for no reason. Outside this hut, there are actually many cages placed. Nidoking, Piloswine, Fearow, Sandshrew, Graveler, etc. Despite his thin appearance, this old man gets stronger with age and experience. He has hunted so many precious Pokémon. The most precious one among them is a Tyranitar. This is the pseudo-legendary of Johto region. The status is equivalent to Dragonite in Kanto region. Tyranitar is a dual rock and dark type, and it makes you feel afraid just by looking at it. It is covered with green rock armor, which is an almost unbreakable defense against their opponents. It has the power to easily change the surrounding environment with its body. Once a Tyranitar goes crazy, it will turn mountains to destroyed mountains and go on a rampage on anything it sees. It is considered a moving disaster class Pokémon. This Tyranitar is extremely well developed and obviously of a very high level. It was obviously drugged by the old man. Otherwise, how could it be trapped with this hunter iron cage? The strange man threw the old man to the ground, sent his Sneasel to cut open the iron cage, and released the Tyranitar. Tyranitar couldn't muster any strength at all, so she could only watch as the strange man threw a black Pokeball at her. The dark ball, which can forcefully subdue Pokémon and turn the captured Pokémon evil, increasing its power to the maximum. The dark fluctuations of energy once again strengthened its already powerful body. Not only did it wash away the drugs in its body, but also changed its mind, making it completely obedient to the orders of this man. Come out, Dark Tyranitar! Tyranitar was released again, reaching a height of nearly 3 meters, with red eyes filled with evil aura. Destroy as much as you like. Tyranitar used her hyper beam and destroyed all the cages here, and also making the Pokémon inside lose their fighting ability and thus were knocked out. The old man felt distressed. Seeing his hut, everything close to him was destroyed in a sea of fire. No matter how tough his mouth was, he was finally pried open. He hugged the man's feet and begged. Stop it, I'll tell you where the Celebi is. Hearing this, the masked man laughed wildly. Chapter 88 Pokémon the Movie, 4EVR2. The group were taking a ride up the river in Mr. White's speedboat. This speedboat is really powerful. Not only does it move very fast on the water, it can also turn into a flying boat version and cross the large waterfall. Only then did Ash and his party arrive safely at Mr. White's village, Arbaville. The indigenous people in the forest here actually live in tree houses, which has a very charming feeling to it. Ash grabbed Molly, who was about to run out to have fun, said goodbye to Mr. White and walked deeper into the forest. The sun shines through the gaps in the woods, and the color here is very pleasant. Not long after, they came to a cave. Through the mountain wall, they could see the forest on the opposite side, which blocked the sky and the sun but was much denser than the forest here on the other side. That is the destination of Ash and his party. The mountain wall has become the best protection for the forest inside, keeping it in its very primal condition. This kind of place is what trainers like Ash yearn for most. The group can't wait to enter and cross this cave. Wait a moment. A voice came from a treehouse at the entrance of the cave. It was an old woman, leaning on a hood-style crutch. I haven't seen you before. Do you want to go into the forest? Yes. Ash admitted openly. You'd better listen to what Grandma said. The speaker was a good-looking young lady. If you look closely, you can see that she looks very much like this grandma but way younger. Brock rushed up again. Yes, of course. I am the Brock who aims to become a top Pokémon breeder. What is your name? I am Diana. The young lady replied, my grandma has been guarding the entrance to this forest. This old lady called Tawa has been guarding here, and there is always a thorn in her heart. 40 years ago, she watched a boy enter the forest just like the group this time. But he never came out of that forest ever again. She picked up the young boy's sketchbook in the forest and has kept it to this day. When you hear the sound of the forest, you must stay where you are and don't move anywhere. This is the legend here. If you don't want to get lost in the forest, you have to do what the legend says. That's all she could say. She couldn't stop a adventurous Pokémon trainer like them. Ash led the group through the cave resolutely. Big brother, what is the sound of the forest? I never heard about it even from my father. Molly sat on Meganium's back and looked at Ash curiously. There are various sounds in the forest, including the sound of wind, trees, water, and the sounds of the Pokémons. Brock gave an example with a smile. This is obviously a lie to children. If you hear this specific sounds, you should stand still and don't move. You can't leave until you stop hearing it. However, something wonderful soon happened. White ripples spread out from the depths of the forest, and everyone clearly heard a pleasant bell ringing. This is... Could it be the legendary sound of the forest? Ash decisively led the group in the direction of the sound. Brock was still hesitant about whether he should stop where he was according to the legend, but he quickly caught up with the other three. It's over there. The white ripples clearly came from an ancient altar, but now they have disappeared. But everyone there found a boy who had passed out. Hey, are you okay? Ash pushed him and found that he just passed out, nothing that serious. But it's not okay to just leave him like this, all alone in the wild. Brock immediately picked him up and headed for the exit again. This place was far away from any Pokémon Center, and the only person he could ask for help was the permanent grandma at the entrance of the forest cave. Just as he was about to rush back, Ash suddenly stopped. He felt another special aura, but this aura disappeared as quickly as it appeared. When Ash went to look for it again, he could not find anything. It should be that this thing used teleport and has gone far away. Ash shook his head and quickly followed the crowd. Miss Diana, are you there? Brock no longer cared about establishing his presence in front of Diana. When he ran here, the boy had already regained consciousness. He pushed Brock away and shouted, I won't hand over Celebi. Celebi? Ash's eyes lit up. Although he had forgotten about this plot, and most of the plot of the Pokémon series after not watching it for so many years, he still vaguely remembered that he would meet Professor Oak from 40 years ago because of a Celebi incident. The young man in front of me is Samuel Oak, but from 40 years ago. Of course right now he had to pretend he didn't know about him or Celebi at all. But the matter of Celebi cannot be delayed. Diana and Tawa came down from the tree house, and Diana's grandma recognized at a glance that this was the boy who suddenly disappeared from inside the forest 40 years ago. He traveled through 40 years of time and was brought here by Celebi, the guardian of the forests. To prove it, she also gave Samuel the sketchbook she kept. Soon, Samuel accepted this reality and this is the truth. Now is not the time to procrastinate and pay attention to these things. He must go to save Celebi. Samuel joined Ash and his group and broke into the depths of the forest again. Pika. This time, like any time before, Pikachu was the first to find the target, which was on top of a towering ancient tree. All the bug-type and flying-type Pokémon in the forest gathered here to guard it. That must be Celebi's hiding place. Over there. Ash took the lead and climbed up the tree in twos and twos. Unexpectedly, Samuel also gave way. Although it was much more difficult, he was able to keep up with Ash's footsteps. That guy is really something. Brock said looking at Samuel. Misty also nodded, yes, he can actually manage to keep up with Ash. Ash right now is equivalent to a humanoid Pokémon, fighting and psychic type. Molly hugged Meganium and cheered, Big brother, come on. There is a small tree hole right where the Pokémon gather, which is where Celebi is hiding and resting from its injuries. Seeing Ash and Samuel, the Pokémon moved out of the way to let them get closer to Celebi, as they could feel their kindness. Celebi looks like a Pokémon from outer space, with its round head converging in an arc to the back of its head, its light blue eyes and thick dark circles, making it very cute. But now this Celebi looked at Ash and Samuel with vigilance in its eyes. It was lying in the hole of the tree, its pitiful appearance made them feel distressed. Samuel has special feelings for this Celebi. After all, he was the one who protected Celebi from being hunted by the hunters, and was then brought to this era by this Celebi. He came to the tree hole entrance and said, Celebi, it's okay, you can come out. However, Celebi burst out with a burst of psi wave in pain and knocked Samuel out. If Ash hadn't pulled him, he would have fallen off the tree. Ash possessed a strong kind of psychic and was able to resist Celebi's psi wave. He protected Samuel behind him, little guy, it's okay. Don't be afraid of us. However, the Celebi became even more frightened. She summoned several vine whips from the tree and swung them at the duo from Pallet Town. Such a thin vine whip has long been ineffective against Ash. He withstood the attack of the vine whip and slowly approached Celebi, little guy, it's okay, I will protect you. Trust me. Samuel also smiled behind Ash, yes, we will protect you. Feeling the goodwill of the two, Celebi finally but slowly accepted the two, took back the vine whip, and lied down once again. Chapter 89 Pokémon the Movie, 4EVR3. Celebi was injured due to the hunter's pursuit, so she became insecure about the human existence near her home. However, Ash and Samuel Oak, kindness finally made Celebi accept them. Sammy took Celebi out. Its injury was urgent and needed to be healed or things will get even worse. Ash, what should I do? Brock checked Celebi's injuries. The injuries of the mythical Pokémon cannot be recovered by simply taking some medicine. It dragged its seriously injured body across time and space and finally reached 40 years later in the future. Ash used the last bit of exchange points he had to exchange a revival herb for Celebi to absorb. Although the taste was very bitter, it finally recovered enough for them to rush to the nearest Pokémon Center, which is still a very long way. If there were enough exchange points, he would have gotten the sacred ash with the power of Ho-Oh. They could definitely restore Celebi's injuries. Celebi, everything's okay. Sammy comforted Celebi while running after Ash. Suddenly, Ash exclaimed, Stop, Team Rocket, I don't have time to deal with you now, get out of the way. Ash's voice was extremely cold. He really didn't care about the Team Rocket trio and turned to look at the 10 huge mechanical spiders that appeared from behind them. 4 mechanical arms held a strong man in the air, looking down at Ash and the group. Protect Celebi. Ash took a step forward. Brock, Misty, you take Sammy and go first, I'll take care of these fools. Brock nodded. He believed that the current AHS would be able to defeat the strange man in front of him. Ash, be careful. Meganium, let's go quickly. Brock and Misty's important mission is to protect Molly's safety. No, Meganium, we are not leaving. Molly hugged Meganium's neck. Meganium is very strong, we have to stay and help Big Brother. How could that mysterious man let Brock and the others leave so easily? When he saw them leaving, he immediately waved a mechanical spider leg and grabbed Sammy. Meganium, petal dance. Bright petals came from Meganium, surrounding the masked man and the mechanical spider. With its interference, Brock, Misty, and Sammy escaped smoothly. Meganium looked back at Ash and followed Brock and the others. The first priority now is to protect Celebi and Molly. Damn it! The masked man reacted and looked at Ash very angrily. Boy, you are very talented. Ash smiled gratefully. Look at your uniform, you must be from Team Rocket. Even that idiot Giovanni can't kill me, so why do you try? Whi do you think you are? The masked man couldn't help but be startled when he heard Ash's words, but turned into a grin. I'm the strongest. I want to see how smart you are. As he spoke, he threw one dark pokeball and 2 ultra balls at once. Sneasel, Caesar, and a Tyranitar. You two go after those kids. The masked man ordered, and Sneasel and Caesar disappeared immediately. Seeing the pokeball, Jesse and James not far behind Ash immediately exclaimed, that mask. Hearing their voices, Ash asked, what? Do you know each other? Jesse and James nodded weakly and Meowth explained, this is one of Team Rocket's top executive, the Iron Masked Marauder. The evil Pokémon trainer. Sir Ash, that dark pokeball can turn Pokémon into an evil version of themselves and maximize their power. It is one of the Rocket's highest technology. Meowth said all in a single breath, terrified by Ash's gaze at him. Hearing this, Ash nodded. No wonder he felt that the Tyranitar in front of him was very different from any regular Pokémon, not only because it was nearly 3 meters tall but he felt the dark energy radiating off her. In comparison, the Sneasel and Caesar are much different. He could feel malice but not that dark and evil energy like Tyranitar. The body is shriveled, and the eyes are not as sharp or alive as a regular Tyranitar, it is a bit like a robot. Ash believed that Brock and Misty would be able to defeat the Pokémon sent after them, not to mention his Meganium following them. So my opponent is this Tyranitar. Ash smiled easily and threw a Pokeball. Typhlosion, show them your art. Ash used another of his battle phrase. Roar. Typhlosion, who was extremely well trained, stood in front of Tyranitar with his body wrapped in flames. Ash's eyes flashed with a beautiful blue light. He untied its restraints and temporarily put Macho Brace in his pocket. Typhlosion, 244/255. Humph, Tyranitar, destroy as much as you like. The Marauder seemed to ignore Ash and Typhlosion at all, and was ready to leave after Tyranitar and Ash faced each other. Nothing is more important than that Celebi for him. The Rockets trio immediately caught up and took refuge behind a stone. Ash didn't stop him, he really wanted to see how strong this dark Tyranitar was. Moreover, Ash judged that the Marauder was just a coward who relied on his dark Pokémon power to show off his to others. His Pokémon trainer level may not be as good as Molly, even if it's a bit of an exaggeration. This person is just a paranoid and violent man who only knows how to pursue powerful Pokémon, not skills. This kind of person is very dangerous, but he is also easy to defeat once you see how he battles. After the Marauder issued the order of destruction, Tyranitar constricted beast eyes were fixed on Ash, and finally the golden energy with a destructive momentum spurted towards Ash. Eruption. Typhlosion stood in front of his trainer, with fighting spirit burning like a cloak of fire on his back, spurting out a terrifying pillar of fire. The move Eruption is much more powerful than Flamethrower, and the more physical strength Typhlosion has, the more powerful it becomes. This battle has just begun. Typhlosion did not suffer any damage. The power of his Eruption has reached its peak. The earlier the battle, the more damage he could deal. This pillar of fire broke through Tyranitar's hyper beam and burned its body severely. Even if fire-type moves are not effective against a Pokémon like Tyranitar, such powerful flames will still make it howl in bursts of pain. Typhlosion, 245/255. Boom! Ash felt a real warmth emerge from his heart to the rest of his body. The flame seemed to turn into fluid, flowing down from the fire of fighting spirit of Typhlosion cloak normal, slowly covering Typhlosion's body, forming a big flaming cocoon. Unlike Charizard and Houndoom, Typhlosion is a pure fire-type Pokémon, and its bond evolution is the definition of fire. Commanding Pokémon without a trainer is completely different from commanding Pokémon with a trainer. What's more, Tyranitar was transformed into a dark beast without the ability to think for herself. With her body, she only knew how to use the destructive Hyper Beam. Use Flame Charge to dodge, go around to the side and use Eruption once again. The fireball disappeared in place almost instantly. Facing the surging destructive Hyper Beam, Ash just jumped lightly and avoided the area covered by the blast of Hyper Beam. The next moment, the most powerful version of Eruption hit Tyranitar from the side, hitting the vital point and causing huge damage to her giant body. Tyranitar even fell to the ground because of the force behind that attack. The final blow. Solar Beam. The energy of the sun is drawn down and condensed into a bright ball of light. This is a grass-type ultimate move, and it has an outstanding effect on Tyranitar as it was a rock-type Pokémon. Boom! Tyranitar is defeated. Chapter 90 Pokémon the Movie, 4EVER4. Ash easily defeated the Tyranitar who had no command and only knew how to use the destructive Hyper Beam. Just as they were about to catch up with Misty and the others, they were blocked by an Ursa ring. This was a female one, accompanied by a cute baby teddy Ursa. What's wrong? He felt that the Ursa ring did not mean any harm. Instead, she glanced at him and turned away. Are you asking me to follow you? The Ursa ring growled and nodded toward him. Ash retracted his Typhlosion and back to his Pokeball to rest and followed her. But he found that the Pokémon in the forest were waiting for him along the way, including Centaret, Stantler, Bellossom, Beedrill, and Ariados. Soon, Ash, led by these Pokémon, came to a quiet but beautiful lake. Hey, you are all here. When he reached there, Misty, Brock, Molly, and Sammy were already here. Big brother. Molly was the first to rush over, hugging Ash's calf and jumping up and down. Meganium followed closely behind her, coming over and rubbing Ash's face, hard. Ash gently stroked Meganium's neck and said, "It seems you all have dealt with the pursuers, well done. Misty, what's wrong with your foot?" Ash noticed at first glance that Misty was sitting on Meganium's back. "My foot just twisted a bit, hee." Misty stuck out her tongue. Ash helped her off Meganium's back and looked at the lake in front of her. This should be the lake of life that the old lady mentioned before, so the Pokémon brought all of us here. Thank you all. Ash thanked the Pokémon that brought all of them here. Celebi has been held in Sammy's arms the whole time. She had eaten the revival herb Ash gave her before and now her energy is starting to wane back to what it used to be. Ash's eyes lit up with a bluish-pink light, and his psychic activated, gently lifting Celebi and placing her into the lake of life. The Pokémon in the forest gathered around the lake and blessed the forest guardian for her recovery. Soon, Celebi's whole body lit up with dazzling light, and then she began to swim in the water. The speed became faster and faster, and the joyful mood was conveyed. Celebi seems happy. Misty and Molly cheered from the water side. Celebi, who flew out of the water, fully recovered from her injuries, circled around Ash and tapped Misty's feet. Wow! It doesn't hurt anymore. Misty held Ash's shoulder and jumped a few times, and she did not feel any pain from moving from her ankle. It was healed by Celebi's mythical power. However, before everyone had time to rejoice, a blood-red mechanical claw suddenly poked out from the other side of the forest, seizing the opportunity to capture Celebi who was flying away again. The iron-maked marauder appeared there at some point and caught the just-healed Celebi. "Fuck," said Ash calmly. Just now Celebi recovered from his injuries, and even Ash relaxed his guard for a moment, and this piece of human waste took advantage of it. "Don't you dare to go any farther." The furious Ash rushed over with Pikachu, followed closely by Meganium. Meganium, Petal Dance. Typhlosion, Eruption. The falling petals actually further strengthened the power of Typhlosion's eruption, and the terrifying fireball attacked the Marauder's big spider robot. However, he didn't care and took out a dark Pokeball to throw. What he summoned was the Drac Tyranitar. Looks like he healed it a bit so she could also battle. Ash thought after looking at Tyranitar. The terrifyingly powerful fire attack hit Tyranitar, and even the strengthened a powerful defensive beast like her would have been seriously injured. But Tyranitar's resistance gave him enough time to throw an empty dark Pokeball towards Celebi, who was caught again just after recovering from all those serious injuries. The dark Pokeball flashed with a purple and black electric sparks, and the process of dark transformation and strengthening is going on inside. Ash finally managed to came closer and jumped onto his big spider robot. "I'm going to beat the living shit at you, you hear me you bastard." Ash or Luke was pissed and used some colorful curse words he learned in his past life. As he said that, Ash suddenly hit the Marauder's masked face with his fist. His fists were covered with the power of his aura, like armament haki from a certain other show. His face was very swollen after couple of Ash's punch and he fell from the big spider robot. However, Marauder, who fell to the ground, didn't care about the injuries on his face at all. The ferocious eyes wearing a mask stared at Ash with both hatred and joy. He was beginning to act more manically, laughing unbridled. "I finally got the strongest Pokémon. Dark Pokeball's transformation of Celebi is finally complete." Without saying a word, he released Celebi from her captive. At this moment, Celebi's whole body was surrounded by dark aura, and her eyes with dark circles were terrifyingly gloomy. It was suspended there quietly, motionless like a lifeless doll. The Pokémon in the forest gathered around, trying to wake up Celebi and take action against the masked Marauder. But he had no inhibitions. "Do you want to save this Celebi?" He smiled ferociously. "I will let you understand that the Celebi you know no longer exists. Celebi, get rid of them." After receiving his order, Celebi suddenly raised its head, her eyes tightened into a single point, without any light or life in them, just like the Tyranitar began. A powerful Psywave burst out suddenly, blowing all the surrounding Pokémon away except Ash and his two Pokémon. "Don't get carried away with this. Typhlosion, 255/255. Let's go." In response to Ash's rage, Typhlosion, whose bond value reached the peak in an instant, sensed the power surging within his body and let out bursts of roaring sounds. Burning with rage, this is the true power of Typhlosion. The fireball enveloped it again and then burst, forming a real cloak of fire. Even the hands were burning with the flames of fighting spirit. It became even bigger, reaching 2.4 meters, with heat waves blowing off from him, and the eyes that looked at the Marauder were full of anger. Name: Ash Typhlosion. Attribute: Fire. Ability: Flash Fire. When attacked by Fire-type moves, it absorbs the fire, and the Fire-type moves the user uses will become stronger. Masked Rage: due to the consumption of opponent's attack and stamina, the special attack of the user will be increased. Skills: Eruption, Flame Charge, Lava Plume, Quick Attack, Flamethrower, Inferno, Solar Flare, Laser Focus, Solar Beam. "What is this? Evolution?" he exclaimed, but soon he looked like he didn't care anymore. "It doesn't matter how special you are, I've already got the strongest Pokémon. Celebi, get rid of that kid." Ash's heart sank. This waste was indeed a scumbag. His orders to his Pokémon were always to deal with them or just straight up kill them. Without any clear instructions, he just let the Pokémon do it on their own, causing as much chaos and destruction as possible. This kind of person is very dangerous, like a child playing with, unable to control or know how to put it down. But at a much larger scale. Sure enough, Celebi rushed over, and Psywave's impact repeatedly knocked Typhlosion away. Eruption. The overwhelming anger turned into flames of rage, and Typhlosion's eyes seemed to be burning with flames. The flame broke through Psywave's turbulent power and hit Celebi hard. However, Celebi also began to change at this time. Countless tree vines in the forest began to gather under her control, forming a huge sphere to protect Celebi herself. Then, the sphere changed and became a huge monster. Perhaps, this is the true form of Celebi, the Forest Guardian. Chapter 91 Pokémon the Movie, 4EVR5. Sensing something strange in the forest, Grandma Tawa and Diana came over in Mr. White's special flying boat. Ash looked back with red eyes, full of rage. They were just in time for this. "Molly, you go to Ms. Diana first. Brother is going to fight that evil monster." Ash's red eyes did not scare Molly at all. The little girl nodded obediently. "Big brother, come on, you could do it. Raycow, please send Molly up and come to me again." Ash summoned his Raycow and asked Molly to sit on his back. Raycow jumped up a few times in the forest and then boarded the flying boat floating in the air. This is Raycow. Grandma Tawa was frightened after seeing a legendary Pokémon appear out of nowhere, but fortunately Molly jumped out from his back in time. Grandma, don't be afraid, this is Uncle Raycow, one of Big Brother's Pokémon. Molly turned around and hugged Raycow again. Uncle Raycow, go back quickly and help Big Brother. Raycow nodded, jumped off the flying boat again, and returned to his trainer's side. Grandma Tawa, leave this place to Big Brother, he will definitely be able to save Celebi. Molly has absolute confidence in her older brother. Hearing this, she nodded and looked at the monster transformed by Celebi below. Using the Guardian of the Forest to destroy the forest is really an ironic thing, isn't it? That's maybe the case. But my brother will teach that bad guy a lesson he will never forget. Molly calmed down Mr. White and the others. Ash rode Raycow and Typhlosion once again stood in front of the masked marauder. He was even more excited to see Raycow. I really didn't expect you to send me a Raycow as your last gift. Celebi, destroy and tear him to pieces. At this moment, Celebi, who controlled the plant and turned into a huge monster, with a big mouth, thick arms and broken wings, no legs, and partially floating in the air. Marauder stood on the monster's huge arms. Celebi controls the movements of the entire monster deep in the bloody mouth, and all special attacks are still launched from its side. Sicehawk turned into a weird purple under the transformation of the dark Pokeball. Disperse! Ash gave an order and Typhlosion and Raycow dodged this terrifyingly powerful attack. However, this attack went straight to the Lake of Life. The originally clear lake water raised splashes several meters high, the mud at the bottom of the lake was turned up, an evil aura poured in from the attack and did something to the water. The color of the entire lake is changing. Son of a hypno! Ash's eyes were already burning with anger because this was partly his fault as well. At this moment, Typhlosion completed his bond evolution, and they were connected once again like some time before. Feeling Ash's overwhelming rage, the flames on Typhlosion's back are constantly raising the temperature. According to Typhlosion's Pokédex, when the rage reaches its extreme point, it is so hot that it can instantly ignite everything near it without even touching it. Raycow, thunderstorm. Typhlosion, eruption. Pikachu, thunder. The sky in this forest suddenly became overcast with clouds, but it didn't rain. There were just countless thunder snakes running around. Ash gave an order, and 2 thunder snakes came down on the Iron Mask's head. Pikachu's thunder, which was strengthened by the light ball Ash got for him, also hit him. There are also the monstrous flames carrying Ash's anger, made by Typhlosion's new Rage Scorch, which once again illuminates the darkened forest sky. However, Celebi's monster arm was raised, and the marauder seized the opportunity to jump to a thick branch. Ash's Pokémon's 3 fatal attacks only destroyed a section of the monster Celebi's arm, and it was quickly restored. Haha! The marauder laughed wildly, I have obtained the strongest Pokémon, you hear that, Team Rocket? I no longer need to be controlled by him. Giovanni, I am the man who will be king of the Pie World. As he spoke, he looked at Ash fiercely, boy, you are indeed a strong trainer, but you are destined to perish here today, under me. Celebi's attack came again, and this time like before, it's extremely powerful. Ash! Misty exclaimed, if she was hit in the front by this attack, even Raycow, the legendary beast of thunder, would not be able to stop it from killing her. Quick attack! Raycow and Typhlosion used their quick attack at the same time to avoid the attack. But this attack landed on the shore of the lake, and the smoke and dust from the explosion floated into the Lake of Life, carrying an evil and dark aura with it. Suicune! Dodging this attack, Ash looked up at the sky and roared. He knew that Suicune was here, and there was no need for him to use the Clear Bell's powers to call him. Suicune must be near. Ash had already sensed Suicune's aura approaching at a rapid speed. Sure enough, as soon as Ash finished speaking, the figure of Suicune appeared next to Raycow. The legendary beast of water and thunder looked at each other and then nodded towards each other. Ash looked at Samuel next to Misty. Sammy. He hurried over and said, Ash, I'm here. Sammy, we must wake up Celebi. You ride Suicune and get close to Celebi's body. You must wake her up. Ash looked at Samuel with his blood-red eyes. It can be said that he has entrusted everything to Samuel now, the future Professor Oak. Of course Samuel knew the importance, so he nodded immediately and mounted Suicune. Suicune, please help me. Just rush over and I will cover you from here. Suicune and Samuel nodded and headed towards the huge monster that Celebi transformed into. Seeing that Suicune also appeared, the masked marauder sneered and took out another dark Pokeball. This Suicune had not caught yet by anyone, so he could catch it. Suicune will become mine like Celebi. The dark Pokeball was thrown, and Tyranitar, who was seriously injured and still unhealed, appeared in front of Ash again. It blocked Suicune, and her powerful Hyper Beam was about to activate again. However, an Onix knocked it away. It was Brock's Onix, and Misty's trump card, Starmie, was standing on its head. Ash, Sammy, leave this Tyranitar to us. Not only Misty and Brock, but Meganium also stood by Onyx's side. With her current strength, it is not difficult to defeat this controlled and an injured Tyranitar. Ash nodded. Flamethrower. Typhlosion, which was still in his Bond evolution form, once again breathed out blazing flames, covering Suicune and Samuel as they climbed onto the monster's shoulders. Sure enough, Celebi was hidden deep in the mouth, protected by countless vines and branches. Celebi! Samuel just called out, and the monster began to twist. Suicune was unsteady on his feet and could only jump down again, and was almost hit by the falling Onix. This Tyranitar is really powerful. Even though she is seriously injured, she can overturn Onix in a matter of seconds. But she is not Meganium's opponents at all. It was blown away by Meganium's energy ball. Finally, it lost her fighting ability and fell into the lake of life. In fact, if it has a good trainer command, it can become an elite trump card for some important character. It's a pity that it was caught by a coward like the Marauder using the dark ball. He is still being annoying. Celebi, crush those kids to me. Celebi's attack came towards Ash and the others again. This is exactly what Ash wants. He wants to entangle Celebi's attack and create an opportunity for Samuel to wake up the slumbering Celebi. Now we have to make Celebi awake. Chapter 92 Pokémon the Movie, 4EVR6. Boom! The thundercloud summoned by Raikou was still raging on, the terrifying electric snakes are surging up and down, and there is a constant sound of deafening thunder. Raikou, Pikachu, use thunder together. Under the thunder clouds, the power of thunder has been enhanced, and even the hit rate has been increased to the point that it's basically impossible to miss. This is the real Thor's hammer. Like a punishment from heaven, the lightning fell from the heavens above and struck hard on the head of the monster that Celebi turned into. It was like a sharp sword that pierced the monster's head and fell directly on Celebi's body inside. The monster finally stopped moving, and Celebi, who must have been its true form, was paralyzed. Suicune, take advantage of this moment immediately. Samuel was very decisive, and immediately asked Suicune climbed up the huge monster again and came to Celebi. Celebi, wake up quickly, this is not you. You are not a Pokémon that can do such a thing to the place you are supposed to protect. When the Marauder saw that Celebi had stopped moving, he immediately panicked. How is this possible? How can you be so powerful to stop my Celebi? Ash turned to look at him with his angered-filled red eyes, the rage in his eyes seemed to eat him alive. Yoi, I can't forgive you for anything you are doing. Now that your Tyranitar is seriously injured and is unable to battle, and Celebi is paralyzed and temporarily unable to move. What else do you have to rely on? Ash roosed over and grabbed his collar. Just now, the big monster transformed from Celebi was protecting him, and Ash couldn't do anything to him. But now, he can only do so many things in such a short time, when Celebi is paralyzed. Celebi, I believe in you, you are the guardian of the forest, you can definitely do it, get out of his control. Samuel was still calling out to Celebi, trying his best to hope that Celebi could regain her original sanity. It seems that his call finally worked. Celebi recalled the short time she spent with Ash and Samuel. The eyes with dark circles seemed to have regained some vitality and light to them. It was at that moment that the power of the legendary beasts began to fight back against the dark transformation of the dark ball. Celebi's dark ball on the Marauder suddenly flashed purple sparks. Ash's eyes lit up when he saw this. So, is this Celebi's Pokeball? What are you up to? He seemed to realize that Ash was trying to do something terrible, and became frightened by this realization. Ash smiled coldly, guess. He grabbed the Pokeball, and his power over aura came out again. Team Rocket's cutting-edge technology, the dark Pokeball that can forcibly subdue Pokémon and turn it to their dark form. In front of his very eyes, shattering into thousands of pieces. Boom! Explosion suddenly happened in front of the Marauder. His face swelled up and his mask was broken, revealing a wretched face with a mustache. The dark Pokeball was destroyed, and Celebi regained her sanity. The whole big monster fell apart, and Samuel fell uncontrollably, but was saved by Celebi's confusion and returned to the place where the others were at. Great, Big Brother won the battle and rescued Celebi. Molly was dancing on the small flying boat. Grandma Tawa and Diana smiled at each other after seeing this scene. Then they looked down at Ash. Next to him stood Raycow and Suicune. This boy is so powerful. Diana thought. I will take these dark Pokeballs with me for safekeeping. Ash also grabbed the remaining 5 dark Pokeballs from the Marauder. He has a total of 6 coins, 4 of them have been unused, and 2 of them were used for Celebi and that Tyranitar. Ash plans to give them to Professor Oak for further study. As for the masked Marauder, Ash didn't mind beating him some more with his aura-infused punches. His fists were so powerful that he can even hurt Charizard with it. Falling into Ash's hands, the masked Marauder lost his strength and watched Ash calmly crush the 2 dark Pokeballs and 2 Ultra Balls that he used of his 4 former Pokemons. He took them one by one and crushed it with his bare palm. Who is this guy? Is he a humanoid Pokemon? He couldn't help but think. Ash, leave this guy to us. Grandma Tawa came over, and the Pokemons in the forest also surrounded her to make sure that she is safe. They tied up the Marauder so tightly that he was showing his true side to even an old lady, the face of a complete coward. You're going to have some fun in Officer Jenny's cell, congratulations. After Ash handed the coward to Grandma Tawa and the others, he brought Suicune and Raycow to Samuel's side. Brock, Misty and Molly also rushed over to him. However, a desperate scene happened. Celebi, who was dominated by the evil and dark energy some time ago, exploded with power beyond her control. At this moment, she completely exhausted all her power and her whole body started to wither. The lake of life that helped Celebi recover from her injuries has been polluted. With the forest destroyed, the lake of life has lost almost all of its function. Ash, please help her. Samuel could only ask Ash for help. Suicune. Diana, who was with the group, suddenly remembered something and looked at Suicune standing behind Ash. Doesn't Suicune have the power to purify water? Ash nodded his head, and looked at Suicune with a hopeful face. Suicune, please try your best. What Celebi is suffering now is not an physical injury, but the depletion of her entire life energy. The water from the lake of life may have no effect on her anymore. Sure enough, even after Suicune purified the water of the lake of life, it only successfully healed Ash's and his Pokemon's injuries plus restored his bloodshot eyes due to rage, but it still had no effect on the dying Celebi. Looking at the dying Celebi, Ash didn't know what to do. Woo! The animals in the forest began to scream, grieving for Celebi's departure. Raycow and Suicune also started shouting towards the sky. Samuel couldn't accept this scene. You're not allowed to cry, you can't give up until the last moment. You absolutely can't give up. Suddenly after Samuel said that, Ash's backpack began to lit up. Big Brother! Molly, with tears in her eyes, hugged Ash's legs and suddenly yelled out. Ash quickly untied his backpack, only to find that the 3 items in the backpack were glowing. The GS ball. The rainbow wing. The silver wing. Ash quickly took them all out, placed the GS ball in the middle, and placed the 2 beautiful feathers on both sides. After seeing these items, especially these 2 feathers, Grandma Tawa was beyond shocked once again. These were real feathers from powerful legendary Pokemons. What an opportunity this boy must have had. She thought out with a blissful sigh. These 2 feathers seemed to be releasing divine power and injecting it into this GS ball in the middle. Kurt discovered that this GS ball has a magical lock inside of it, but he just didn't know how to unlock it and see what's up with it. But how could he have thought that this GS ball actually requires the power of Ho-Oh and Lugia to activate and see its true power? Everyone heard the sweet bell sounded again, and the GS ball suddenly floated into the air, and the whole ball began to release white light, spreading deep into the forest. Ash and his party had seen this light before. It was the white light they saw in the forest when they first met Samuel. Traveling across time and space. This is the sound of traveling through time and space. GS ball, injected with the power of Ho-Oh and Lugia, opened a passage through time and space, and from the white light, dozens of Celebi appeared at the same time, likely from different points in the timeline. After they flew around Ash's head, they gently lifted Celebi from Samuel's arms. In that warm light, Celebi were flying around this dying Celebi. The guardian of the forest gives life to the forest and travels through time and space to make sure that everything is safe. This is the miracle of life. After getting some part of her energy back, Celebi recovered and thanked her fellow companions. But these Celebi came to Ash and flew around again before returning to the white light and disappearing. Only a recovered Celebi was left. It has one more thing to do. It flew happily in the air, enjoying the new vitality. Then it came to Samuel and once again emitted the warm white light that had the power to travel through time and space. "Sammy, you should go back to your own time before everything gets messed up." Ash smiled softly but sadly. Hearing this, Samuel was stunned. He felt happy about going home, but also sad about saying goodbye to his friends. Ash shook his head. "We will meet again." 40 years later, a boy named Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town will receive a disobedient Pikachu accidentally obtained by Professor Samuel Oak because he got up late in the morning, and embark on the journey of becoming a Pokémon Master. Chapter 93 New Members. The forest has returned back to its natural tranquility, but because of the marauders' violent actions, the entire forest has been hit hard. But the Lake of Life has revived, and the guardian of the forest is still there. The forest will soon return to its original prosperity. The 3 items returned to Ash's hands, but he found that these 3 things were different. The 2 feathers have lost most of their magical power and have truly become collectible items. Ash decided that he will send them back home to his mother when he gets to Olivine City. And the magical lock of GS Ball was opened and became a magical Pokeball, so come out and get ready to show yourself. Ash suddenly threw out the GS Ball, and heard a familiar bang sound, and a Pokemon actually appeared from within that very familiar light. Round head, green body, transparent little wings. Celebi. Misty, Molly and everyone else exclaimed in unison after seeing what came out of the Pokeball. When Ash opened the GS Ball for the very first time, he summoned lots of Celebis from different timelines, and now, another Celebi came out of that mysterious ball. It's just that this Celebi is very small, only about the size of his Ash's palms. It should still be in the early stage of infancy. No wonder it is protected in such a magical thing as the GS Ball. Ash became more and more interested in the inventor and creator of the GS Ball. That person managed to create a Pokeball that required both Ho-Oh's and Lugia's power to open this Pokeball, to protect this young Celebi. The little Celebi was awakened by the exclamations of the 3 girls, stretched out her cute small body, fell into Ash's palm again, and fell asleep again. Children need their sleep for their future growth. Molly came over to take a look, her eyes widened with curiosity, then she looked up at Ash. "Big brother, is this Celebi's baby?" "Yes, a well-behaved child like you. Let's not disturb it her rest, okay?" Ash used the GS Ball to put away the little Celebi again, shrunk it and hung it around his neck. This special Pokeball does not take up space and thus, making it the 7th Pokemon that Ash can carry with him. "Great, I have a younger sister. I will protect Celebi's baby." Looking at the GS Ball around Ash's neck, Molly was very happy. Looks like the number of traveling companions has increased again. Brock has already begun to make plans about the new member. He doesn't know what the baby Celebi eats, so what should he do with her as an aspiring breeder? "Brock, we need to add more than 1 traveling companion today." Ash smiled and came to Suicune. "Suicune, it's time for us to set off." Suicune nodded. This was the deal they made after they separated from each other before entering the forest. Ash threw one of his Ultra Ball and subdued Suicune. Suicune, 240/255. First Raikou and now Suicune. Big brother has already tamed 2 of the 3 legendary beasts, and now only Entei is left to compete the trio. Molly counted on her fingers. She really admired her brother for taming another legendary Pokémon. Moreover, this is the legendary beast of purity. Although Misty didn't catch Suicune herself, her eyes lit up as she was able to travel with the legendary water-type Suicune. Suddenly, a big wave surged in the Lake of Life, and a terrifying figure emerged from it. "It's Tyranitar!" Brock was the first to exclaim. Even if Ash destroys her Dark Ball, she was still the same powerful pseudo-legendary. After the Marauders' Pokeballs was destroyed, Scizor and Sneasel went deep into the forest and returned to their natural habitats, the place where they were forcibly taken from. This Tyranitar was previously thrown into the Lake of Life by Ash's Meganium. Now that the Lake of Life has regained its power, Tyranitar's injuries have also been restored, so it came out of the lake. Looks like this one seems to be wild again. Looking at the beast coming out of the water with great force, Ash suddenly murmured this sentence. Hearing this, both Brock and Misty both came to their senses and nodded. "It seems so. Then I will take her in." Ash waved his hand and threw 2 more Pokeballs. "Wartortle, blast them away." Lapras, be a good boy and watch this battle. Under the transformation of the dark ball, Tyranitar gained a powerful physique and was once as tall as 3 meters, a complete giant beast. Now that her dark ball is destroyed, Tyranitar has returned to her original state, and the damage caused by the dark transformation and fighting has been healed by the Lake of Life, and it is now stronger than ever before. This is Tyranitar's opportunity to test her new powers, and it's also Ash's opportunity to catch this. Looking at Ash and Wardle, Tyranitar did not launch an attack immediately, but just walked over from the lake step by step. Until it came to Ash. Ty. The roaring sound full of fighting spirit announced the arrival of a powerful pseudo-legendary. It declared battle, risked her own dignity, and was chose to battle Ash to see if he was worthy of being her trainer. Big brother, come on. Molly also understood the situation in front of her. This Tyranitar is here to fight and see if Ash was willing to accept her. Brock and Misty were really shocked. This trip to the forest was an impromptu trip from the ferry because of Mr. White. Although it was dangerous, Ash's harvest this time was extremely good. Alright then, Wardle, Hydro Pump. What makes Hydro Pump more powerful than Water Gun is not only the amount of water being used, but also the impact of water. It is almost 10 times stronger than Water Gun. Wardle's Hydro Pump hit Tyranitar standing in front of Lake of Life head-on, pushing it back. However, Tyranitar's strong body stopped the decline abruptly, and she got ready to use her Hyper Beam. Hide in the water and avoid that attack. Wardle dived into the water, the powerful Hyper Beam was dodged but it hit the lake, causing huge waves. Now, Aqua Tail. There will always be a certain degree of stiffness after using Hyper Beam because of how much energy and concentration is needed for this attack to work. No matter how powerful Tyranitar is, she can only shorten the stiffness time by a bit. But for Ash, even for a moment, it is his chance. This is where the Pokémon battles began to get exciting. The balance of victory could be reversed in an instant. Wardle suddenly splashed out of the water, carrying an amazing amount of water with Whirlpool, and hit Tyranitar head-on. Tyranitar was hit hard and roared loudly. But her power should not be underestimated at all, even if she was injured like before. Her eyes suddenly opened, its evil aura formed a bloody mouth, and it bit Wardle's body. Crunch! Rapid spin! Under those dark fangs, Wardle endured the severe pain and shrank his body, letting the turtle shell begin to spin crazily. The frictional movements created sparks and then bursts in all directions. The result of such a battle can only be a loss for both sides. Tyranitar let go of his fangs and suddenly stepped hard on the ground. Sharp stone pillars shot up from the ground, immediately injuring Wardle severely. This was a powerful stone edge that she just used now. The blown Wardle fell into the Lake of Life again. The power of the lake was constantly recovering his injuries. Soon, it opened its eyes again. A dazzling light suddenly lit up from the bottom of the lake. Squirtle, one of his first Pokémon in the Johto Region, finally completed his final evolution in the bottom of the Lake of Life. Like Venusaur, Wardle's figure began to grow dramatically during the evolution process. The turtle shell became thicker, bigger, and stronger, and 2 giant metal cannons protruded from it. Just looking at it, one could feel how powerful he was. Its height reaches nearly 2 meters, showing how well he was being trained. This size is much larger than any regular Blastoise. Blastoise. After evolving, Blastoise become more rough and powerful. This is the sound of power. Blastoise, use Hydro Pump. The power of the evolved Hydro Pump is truly astonishing. The 2 giant metal cannons are truly terrifying. One shot knocked Tyranitar away. Now, Ash threw out one of his Pokeballs, and he caught the pseudo-legendary of the Johto region. The first of his pseudo-legendaries. Tyranitar. Chapter 94. That's different. After the battle in the forest, the Pokémon around Ash had quite a change. Ash teleported both Typhlosion and Blastoise back, except for Pikachu who was always with him, Meganium who was traveling with Molly and helping her, and the newly born Lapras. What Ash has with him now are the legendary beasts of Thunder and Water, Raikou and Suicune, and the recently captured Johto region pseudo-legendary, Tyranitar. Professor Oak's research on Rhydon has not yet been completed, so he did not ask to send Raikou back. Ash didn't want to irritate Professor Oak, so he didn't tell him about Suicune at all. However, he asked Nurse Joy for help and sent the last 4 carefully packaged dark Pokeballs back to Professor Oak. I hope he can research something about this. Team Rocket's research on Pokeball is heavily focused on forced subjugation, with no regard for the lives or the acceptance of the Pokémon themselves. The clone ball that Mewtwo previously created on the new island can even catch the Pokémon inside their Pokeball. This is also derived from Team Rocket's research. This time Ash just used one of the methods of forcibly destroying the Pokeball to liberate the Pokémon. If Professor Oak can develop an easier and more effective solution, more Pokémon can be rescued. After 40 years, Professor Oak's memory of this experience must be vague, maybe even worse than Grandma Tawa. Even if he still has an impression, he will not remember Ash's appearance or maybe only remember a few things from him. But he must have a deep memory of Dark Pokeball and of Celebi, and I believe he will pay attention to it. It would be best if he give me some more rewards, I like those. As thought. Ash thought like this, and the group of them was getting closer and closer to their next destination, Olivine City. What a beautiful lake! Suddenly, Molly exclaimed. If there is water, Lapras can come out to play. Now Molly is best at finding water because she can play with the young Lapras. The most excited person to see this pond was Misty. This lake is the famous Lake Lucid. Hearing this, Ash also nodded, this lake looks pretty good. Molly saw how happy they were. Brother, is this lake also like the Lake of Life? Ash wanted to say, girl, do you think there are such healing lakes everywhere? That thing there was only there for plot reasons. But ultimately he didn't say anything like this. Ash pulled her and explained, for trainers like Misty here, who likes water-type Pokémon, this Pokémon Center here is the Pokémon Center we most want to come to. Oh. Molly still didn't understood what was so special about this new lake. But Ash's explanation is the most understandable, if any. Pika. At this time, a few strings of bubbles suddenly appeared close to the lake shore, and a person wearing a dive suit suddenly stood up in the water and walked ashore holding a Goldeen. This Goldeen was still wrapped in bandages. Looking at the individual, Brock suddenly became excited. That is a woman. And she is also a Nurse Joy. How did you know? Ash was also puzzled. How could you tell who was wearing a dive suit? My D. No, I feel it in my heart. Brock almost let it slip, but Ash and Misty both looked at him with a glint in their eyes. Molly was confused and looked curious about this whole subject. Ash patted her head and said, be careful Molly, ignore this kind of weirdo in the future. This person called over several Chansey, pushed the glass fish tank over, and sent Goldeen inside the Pokémon Center. Then they unbuttoned her dive suit, and it turned out to be Nurse Joy. However, Ash clearly heard her murmuring, it's so disgusting. What's so disgusting? Brock has already rushed up to her, Nurse Joy. Hello, who are you? Nurse Joy was startled. I am a wandering Pokémon breeder, you, my lady, can call me Brock. To express my deep admiration for you, let's have a cup of coffee together. How does that sound to you? He said that all in a single breath. Ash doesn't even bother to be annoyed, he's just curious about Brock's abilities. Misty pushed Brock away, I'm sorry, are you the Nurse Joy from the Pokémon Center here? Molly looked at her with questioning eyes, are you serious right now? After getting the answer, Misty's eyes were filled with stars, you are one of the people I admire most, I am so happy. This face looks like an idol, just saying. But the original Nurse Joy from here is indeed worthy of respect. About 50 years ago, sewage discharged from nearby cities and wastewater from factories polluted this new lake into a stagnant pool where even a Pokémon like Mook could not survive. It is the efforts of 3 generations of Nurse Joy's family from here that turned this new Lake Lucid into a paradise and health center for water-type Pokémon. The Pokémon Center here has also become a place that water-type specialist Pokémon trainers want to visit. Just as Ash and Nurse Joy explained the history of this lake to Molly, the water Pokémon in the pond also poked their heads out. Tentacool, Dugong, Chinchou, and even a Gyarados. These are the Pokémon recuperating at the Pokémon Center. Ha, Gyarados, it's so big. Molly saw that Gyarados but was not frightened by its ferocious appearance at all. Instead, she pulled the corner of Ash's clothes, Big brother, summon Lapras quickly, I'm going to play with him and this Gyarados. Ash, are you bringing out Lapras? Are there any other Pokémon? Nurse Joy asked. Yes, Nurse Joy, I want them to rest here for some times. I'll have to ask you to do a health check on them later though, they are all tired from the long journey. Ash said with a smile. And me? Nurse Joy, and I'm Misty, I specializes in water-type Pokémon, I have to trouble you too. Of course Nurse Joy would not refuse. so, Ash put Lapras into the lake. After this period of travel, he had grown up a lot. The relationship between him and Ash also became closer. As soon as it came out, he rubbed his head against Ash. Molly jumped up immediately. Come on, Lapras, let's go play with Gyarados. Jigglypuff, hold on to me tightly. Ash looked at her and shook his head with a smile. Meganium, look after her please. In the blink of an eye, Molly was already on top of the Gyarados. Then I'm going to take out my Pokémon. However, back at the Pokémon Center, when Misty was about to release her proud water Pokémon and perform a health check on Nurse Joy, whom she admired the most, Nurse Joy's reaction was completely different from what any of them expected. Wait a minute. You mean water-type Pokémon right here, like this? Nurse Joy suddenly panicked when she saw Misty about to open the Pokeballs. She was so scared that she backed away. No. You can't take it out here. I can't look at it here. Don't let them touch me. No. Don't take it out here, please. Oh my god, if someone heard this outside the door at this time, they would probably rush in and save the beauty. Misty was stunned. What's wrong with you? Seeing that she had no other choice, Nurse Joy had to tell the truth. I'm afraid of water Pokémon. And I hate them the most. Chapter 95 done. As long as it's a Pokémon other than water type, whether it's poison type or bug type, I will do my best and heal it with my own hands. But, with the exception of water type Pokémon, I don't dare to touch them unless I'm wearing my dive suit. Chansey was so considerate that she took off the dive suits that had just been taken off. This thing is very heavy. Wearing it in the water is okay, but if it is on the land area, it is very inconvenient to wear it. Misty was really disappointed hearing all this. Why is it that the Nurse Joy here is not good at handling water-type Pokémon? I heard that the Nurse Joys here were the best at handling water-type Pokémon from my mother. Nurse Joy retorted, it's not that I'm not good at it, it's that I hate it. But saying this was a bigger blow to Misty. I never expected this to be the true face of a Nurse Joy. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. It's the sense of loss caused by the huge gap between reality and imagination, which Ash said is understandable. After Nurse Joy has put on the dive suit again and is finally ready to do a health check on Misty's water Pokémon. Of course, our Pokémon Center here has the best Pokémon treatment technology for dealing with water type. However, Misty refused. You don't need to check. No. Nurse Joy insisted. Misty, doctors don't choose patients based on personal preferences. When you see a sick Pokémon, you have to cure it. This is my job. Fine. Misty did not refuse after seeing Ash look at her. This is of course the best for Nurse Joy, as the dive suit is difficult to move on the ground. Coming to the clinic, the medical equipment here is indeed amazingly advanced. There are also water tanks of different sizes, housing various water Pokémon. Those Chanseys have already put new bandages on that Goldeen they previously saw. There are many types of diseases and wounds for water-type Pokémon face. Inside here we have most everything covered. According to the symptoms they give us, we let the Pokémon rest in suitable water quality with the medications mixed in. This is where it will be cured the fastest. It is like a very professional and a veritable spa inside for the Pokémons. While talking, the group came to a huge water tank, and inside was another Gyarados. When that Gyarados appeared in the lake just some time ago, Misty's face looked very uncomfortable. Now she was standing directly in front of a Gyarados, and she immediately locked onto Ash's side. Ash patted Misty's head lightly. Misty, I said before at the Ecrutique gym that no one has the right to deny other people's preferences. You are afraid of Gyarados because of your childhood experience. Nurse Joy is probably the same, right? Ash, how did you know? Misty looked at Ash in confusion, but lowered her head when she saw his eyes. Nurse Joy is very happy that Ash can understand her. Ash, you are right. In fact, I also loved water-type Pokémon when I was a child. After all, growing up in a family like mine, you have to face lots of water-type Pokémon on the daily basis. It turns out that like Misty, the youngest Nurse Joy of Lake Lucid, had a very similar experience. She was washed into the water by a Remoraid's powerful water gun. Although she now understands that it was just Remoraid expressing friendship, it left a psychological shadow on her. She can never let that fear go, the fear of drowning and water in general. There is still a difference between all of them. Just like Molly, that girl must still be sitting on top of the head of that Gyarados and having fun everywhere in that huge lake. Ash knows Molly and her courage very well. After all, she is a girl who can order around an Entei. Even if she really falls into the water, there will be no psychological shadow left on her from what all Ash knows about her. There are so many water-type Pokémon in the lake who will save her, and there are still some people near the shore. There is also Meganium who Ash left for Molly's protection, and she is very good at using Vine Whip. She will make sure Molly is perfectly safe there. Molly knew she was absolutely not in any kind of danger. What's more, she also has in that air balloon of a Pokémon, Jigglypuff, which can make her and Molly float by inflating herself. Misty, as someone who aims to become a water-type Pokémon Master, Gyarados is something you can never escape. One day, you will overcome this weakness of yours and catch a Gyarados that will become one of your strongest trump cards. It's Ash's trust in Misty, she can definitely do it. Ash, thank you. I think I understand. Misty nodded. She actually knew about her problem with Gyarados is just a one-sided thing. Ash. Brock suddenly said to him, you will definitely become the strongest Pokémon Master in the future. Ash nodded confidently, of course. Then, he looked at Nurse Joy and said, Nurse Joy, as a doctor, especially a professional doctor of water-type Pokémon, you are the same, you will have to face it one day. And I think you can start it with this guy. As soon as he finished speaking, Ash threw a Pokeball in front of Nurse Joy's confused eyes. Suicune. The legendary beast of water. The incarnation of the North Wind. No matter how many times a person watches it, it still always be a mesmerizing moment. I personally love Suicune. It is probably one of my favorite water-type Pokémons of all time. Ash gave his own thought and Misty and Brock nodded towards what he had just said. As a doctor for water Pokémon, how could she not know about Suicune? Suicune has the ability to purify the water quality. If it were there back then, the purification of Lake Lucid would not require the power of 3 generations of the Joy family living here. But again, this just proves the greatness of the Joy family and their dedication to helping water-type Pokémon. Suicune. Nurse Joy's eyes were filled with tears and she was mesmerized by his beauty. Yes, this is a water-type Pokémon, but it is completely different from an ordinary water-type Pokémon. The horns, which are as bright as crystals, and the ribbons, which are as elegant as the wind, are so majestic no matter from which angle you look at them. Such a beautiful creature, even looking directly at it is considered a blasphemy. How could Nurse Joy have any fear or disgust for it? The water-type Pokémon in the clinic were all splashing with water, cheering and celebrating for being able to see such a creature. Suicune, thank you. Nurse Joy could feel the concern in Suicune's eyes. She slowly put her face against Suicune's and hugged it gently. Ash hoped that the appearance of Suicune will slowly allow her, who used to love water-type Pokémon, to slowly get out of her own psychological shadow. Big brother, it's not good. Molly suddenly rushed in for help, but Lapras and Meganium were too big to get in. There were still tears in the corners of the little girl's eyes. Ash quickly hugged her and said, Molly, what's wrong? I accidentally slipped just now, and Gyarados seemed to have been injured again while trying to save me from hitting that tree branch. Now it's bleeding from the place behind its scale. Big brother, what should I do? Molly knew that she was in trouble, as all the water-type Pokémon in the lake were all injured Pokémon, resting and waiting for their trainers. While they were doing rehabilitation, she went a little too crazy and because of her, one of them was injured. Ash didn't blame her. Molly, rest easy, don't worry, I and Nurse Joy are both here to heal them up. With that said, he quickly led the group to the lake shore, and sure enough, Gyarados was writhing in pain in the water. All the other water-type Pokémon in the pond had been protected by Meganium and were gathering at a single place. Now she is waiting for Ash together with Lapras. Nurse Joy was about to step forward to check Gyarados, but she did not ask to wear dive clothes. Nurse Joy, Gyarados is too dangerous now. You will be injured if you approach it rashly. Ash couldn't help but worry. This is easy to fix. Meganium, safeguard, Jigglypuff, sing. Jigglypuff's singing quickly restored Gyarados' calmness, and even the other water-type Pokémon that were originally in the lake fell asleep. After being examined by Nurse Joy, Gyarados was just injured in a soft spot and in pain, but nothing major happened. Everything turned for the better. Chapter 96 Fake Gym Leader. Leaving Lake Lucid and the Nurse Joy over there, Ash and his party crossed through a small desert area and finally arrived at Olivine City. So the first thing the group set out to do is to challenge the Olivine City Gym. It should be said that this is indeed worthy to represent a Steel-type gym. The very first impression of the Olivine Gym from an outsider's perspective is that it is very tough. It is hard to imagine that the gym leader in this gym is actually a beautiful young lady. But that's the simple truth. Is anyone here? I'm Ash from Pallet Town, I come here to challenge the gym. Because the door was closed, Ash had no choice but to loudly knock on the door. After a while, with a welcome, the door opened. Can you please come inside? And then please go straight forward without asking any questions. The lights were not turned on, but you can still see through some things here and there because of the light coming from the gate. The pillars and walls here are made of real steel. The Pokémon used here must be very strong, there is such a strong wall. Brock judged. Hearing this, Ash smiled, my Pokémon are also very strong now. As of now, most of his Pokémon have now completed their evolution, and each of them is very huge and powerful. Now he is also accompanied by the pseudo-legendary of the Johto region, Tyranitar. Walking forward in a straight line as instructed, Ash and his party soon came to a second door. The door was opened with a strong push from Ash. The person who just spoke was already waiting for them inside the door. As the room lights up, the sight suddenly opens up in front of everyone. It is indeed a steel-type gym. The metallic style is very tough, but because the space is very wide and the view is unobstructed, it feels very professional from a watcher's perspective. I am Jasmine, the gym leader of the Olivine City Gym. I'm a beautiful and strong trainer, I warn you. The speaker said out loud. The voice sounded not that much younger than Molly. Who gave you the confidence to say that you are a gym leader? You should know that lying like this is an actual crime against the Alliance. Do you think that being in region gym leader is just plaything? Or do you think all of us are fools? Look at Brock, he didn't even react to you, even though Jasmine is known for being beautiful and a little shy unlike you. Ash wanted to say all this but didn't bother to expose her just yet, thinking that if they started their battle, the real Jasmine would show up sooner or later. The number of Pokémon that can be used is 3, okay. This Jasmine directly announced the rules of the battle without any official referee. After Ash agreed to her deal, the battle officially began. Go ahead, Onyx. This Onyx sent by Jasmine has a very shiny body and honestly looks very strange. Ash chuckled, stomped through to victory, Tyranitar. When the brutal beast appeared, it frightened the little girl opposite to him. Hey, why don't you use a water-type Pokémon? Water-type restrains both the rock-type and ground-type that Onyx has. Is this not common sense? Why not use it? Sorry, I don't have any water-type Pokémon with me. Ash chuckled as he lied through his teeth. Brock and Misty also understood what was going on at this point, and couldn't help laughing. Ash is getting worse and worse at this. He is probably going to bully a child and make them cry. Molly cheered for her older brother as she still didn't realize that this was not the real Jasmine and it was just a child around her age acting as Jasmine. Brother, come on, Tyranitar, come on. Tyranitar, you know what to do, Hyper Beam. The first move he used was a ultimate move, the powerful Hyper Beam that once caused great destruction in the forest, now it blasted towards Onyx. Ash is really merciless. Onyx, get out of the way. This young girl is pretty good for her age, at least she can react and give orders, even though it's too late for that. How could Onyx avoid Tyranitar's Hyper Beam of all things? Onyx was hit directly and fall to the ground without being able to do anything. That's it. A shout came from outside the battlefield, the steel door opened, and a beautiful young lady in a white and pink dress appeared. There is a magnemite on her shoulder, which perfectly blends in with her whole temperament. Brock's eyes immediately filled with hearts, she's so beautiful, and the magnemite on the shoulders fits perfectly with her. I'm really sorry, but this battle has to be cancelled. This young lady wanted to stop the battle as soon as she came up. However, Ash also shouted, the battle has just begun. There is no reason to stop in a 3-on-3 battle. What do you think this is, a child's play? Ash was just acting a little since he is a little disappointed that it was over so quickly and because he and Tyranitar couldn't increase their bond values. You. Ash's reluctance made her a tad bit angry, but after all, it was her own fault, so she could only explain patiently to him, an official gym battle must be with the gym leader of that gym to count as effective. I am Jasmine, and I am the gym leader of the Olivine City Gym. That little girl is the trainee trainer of our gym, come back here you troublemaker. This is of course the rule that trainers must follow if they want to get the gym badge. So, I want you to apologize. Ash said sternly but just wanted to enjoy a little at the little girl's dilemma. I apologize to you as a gym trainee for deceiving challengers like you and pretending to be the gym leader while I'm not. I apologize to you for using unauthorized application of waterproof wax on Onyx and the serious cheating during the battle. Ash said with a smile, chill, I was just joking a little. There was really no need for all that. Anyway, I forgive you. But still, a Pokémon trainer has to train their Pokémon day and night, work hard with their Pokémon, and make progress together. This is the kind of bond that one requires for being truly strong. Ash's words made Jasmine completely unable to refute and instead nodded along with what he said, and also making her want add in her 2 cents but didn't dare to interrupt his words. In addition to that, she also noticed that Ash was being accompanied by a little girl who was maybe just a little older than Janina. She could understand that Ash was teaching this girl by words and deeds what a Pokémon trainer should do. In comparison, she was far behind, but Janina would do such a thing when she had her own responsibility. Ash. Brock's and Misty's eyes changed again when they looked at Ash. Unknowingly, the boy who couldn't even command a Pikachu right has grown into such a powerful and knowledgeable trainer. You're right. Looking at Ash's eyes, Jasmine lowered her head, Janina. Yes. Janina was already stunned by Ash's words just now, but she quickly reacted and came over and stood in front of Ash. I'm once again very sorry that I lied to you. The attitude of admitting one's own mistake was quite an admirable thing in Ash's opinion, mine too, and of course Ash didn't really intend to argue with her, so he just accepted it swiftly. Miss, why did you put waterproof wax on that Onyx? Molly came over with a jigglypuff on her head. Don't be afraid, Big Brother is very kind. Facing this young girl who was a little older than herself, Janina quickly relaxed. I applied it very hard, not sparing any place. Using this, my Onyx will become immune to water-type attacks. But this is really cheating. Brother said that those who cheat are not good children and will become ugly. Molly looked like a little adult while talking. Hearing that cheating would make you look ugly, she became nervous, but teacher taught me to talk to Pokémon properly and understand its abilities. That's why I thought of removing Onyx's biggest weaknesses. Hearing this, Jasmine also covered her face. She came over and stood next to Janina. You still don't know anything about what I thought you. Jasmine looked at Ash and saw that his face was gentle and no longer pretended to be angry. Your name is Ash, right? Thank you, you are a very respectable trainer. It doesn't matter, I'm just making sure she realizes her mistakes and that she doesn't make them again. Ash said wisely. Ash smiled and stopped pursuing what had happened just now, letting the 2 girls whisper and communicate with each other. Can I challenge the gym now? Hearing this, Jasmine changed her previous appearance and apologized again. I'm really sorry, I really can't do a gym battle at this time. Sparkle's health is not good at this moment, I can't leave her side right now. After receiving a call, she hurriedly said goodbye to everyone and left, leaving only Janina behind to entertain everyone here. Seeing the 2 little girls chatting happily, Ash smiled and said, Molly, go and wipe off the waterproof wax on Onyx's body with Janina, okay? Janina, you should also reflect on it. Okay. Yes. Chapter 97 Olivine Lighthouse. Removing the waterproof wax from Onyx's body is more troublesome than applying it. Because it is a dual rock-type and ground-type Pokémon, you cannot use water, but must use sand to grind it off bit by bit. In this process, Onyx must be very uncomfortable. It is through experiencing such a process that Janina can reflect. Janine, such a young girl, forced Jasmine to accept her as her apprentice because of her admiration for her. In order not to disappoint Jasmine, she tried to make up for Onyx's weaknesses. I'm sorry, I didn't know this was cheating. She should really know that she was wrong. Ash smiled and lifted Molly off Onyx, and said with a smile, it's okay, really. As long as you realize that what you are doing is wrong now, then that is your progress. Slowly you will understand what being a trainer is like and what your responsibility is towards your Pokémon. As a trainer that has an Onyx's, Brock also said, in fact, there is no need to forcefully change the weaknesses, you should use Onyx's own strength. But I don't know what to do or what that is. Please help me. She asked for advice. As long as you always listen carefully to what Onyx is saying, you will definitely understand it. Miss Jasmine also said something similar to what you said, but I don't understand my Onyx. She is very familiar with this sentence, but now she doesn't know what to do with it. In that case, do you want to come and have a battle? As a Pokémon trainer, battle is the best way to communicate with their Pokémon. And as the person who wants to become the Pokémon Master, he naturally must battle and get better with his Pokémons. It's too much for him to battle her, so Ash decided on the next best thing. The two sides fighting are Onyx and Jigglypuff. That's right, it's Jinina and Molly who are going to battle. Molly, this is your first real battle. Do your best. Ash encouraged. Yeah, I will definitely win. Molly nodded vigorously, very confident in herself and her Jigglypuff. Practice battle, let's begin. Brock, as a referee and also a trainer who uses Onyx, can give some opinions from the sideline, while WSH has to prepare Molly for the battle with some pep talk. Jigglypuff, use disarming voice. Molly gave the order. Jigglypuff once again took out the marker that it thought was Mike, but this time the song was not a lullaby but an actual attack. This charming voice was hard to guard against as it was not a physical attack and Onyx and Janina were caught before they could react. Onyx has a very heavy stone head but he keep it up because it was part of his body and genetics, but now he felt that his head was so much more heavy and he almost fell over. Janina looked over at Molly, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. But she would not admit defeat to her. Onyx, use your powerful tackle. Although it is a simple attack like tackle, but it is quite powerful when used with a body as big as Onyx. I don't really know why Onyx's attack is so low in the game even though it has such a large body made out of rocks. But Onyx didn't see what Pokemon was in front of me or even where he was going. Jigglypuff, float up and hide. The air balloon Pokemon, Jigglypuff, took a large gulp of breath and held it inside her stomach, puffing itself up and becoming a large balloon. The strong wind brought by the tackle of the huge-size rock snake blew it away, making it impossible to hit. How is that possible? Janina seemed to not to understand what was going on. Molly on the opposite side used her Jigglypuff's ability to float itself very flexibly. So what is Onyx's special ability that he could use? Hard. Strong. And a snake-like body. Come on Jigglypuff, the Gyro Ball. The Steel-type Gyro Ball is super effective against Onyx's rock typing. Molly was already very familiar with the type counter table from a very young age. Onyx, hide away, then use Iron Tail. Janina finally began to understand Onyx's special body ability, and saw Onyx twisting his body and successfully dodging Jigglypuff's Gyro Ball. As a trainee at a Steel-type gym, Onyx naturally learned the Iron Tail move. Steel-type attack against another Steel-type attack, Jigglypuff's Gyro Ball was immediately knocked away, and she returned to Molly's side in a daze. It's not over yet, Jigglypuff, use Sing. This is her signature move, and Meganium was already afraid of what's going on, so she quickly used Safeguard to protect everyone present, but Janina and Onyx were not included. Molly was able to dodge this because Jigglypuff made sure that she didn't hear this. The dazed Janina clearly heard before falling asleep that Molly asked Jigglypuff to use Wake Up Slap, which knocked Onyx out. After the battle, Ash and his team woke up the sleeping Janina, but Onyx was still knocked out beside her. Janina, you did a good job, you should understand a little bit more about Onyx, right? Seeing her head nodding, Ash asked, do you know where Jasmine is? She seems to be in trouble, maybe we can help. Yeah. She nodded repeatedly, Miss Jasmine is at the Olivine Lighthouse on the pier. The Olivine Lighthouse, located on the east coast of Olivine City, is a lighthouse with a long history. When they arrived, they found it empty, so the group had to climb to the top of the tower. But all they saw was a listless Ampharos. Ash, why are you here? Jasmine walked out from the stairs next to them. It goes on like this, Olivine City is a harbor coast city, and it has always used the light ball in Ampharos tail as a light source since there was no electricity in the past to help guide the ships near it. Even though another electric lighthouse is now built next to the Olivine Lighthouse, the Olivine Lighthouse is still regarded as a symbol of prayer for safety to those sailors. After all, the safety of people sailing on the sea is the most important thing, more than the actual products that's being transported. However, Ampharos' breathing has not been smooth recently, and the light on his tail has also weakened significantly. Despite Jasmine's careful care, he is still not getting better. Is there no way to heal this? Brock looked worriedly at the sick Ampharos. Actually, I have asked the pharmacy in Kianwood City to prepare their secret medicine. Jasmine said, just now, I received a call from them saying that the medicine is ready to be picked up. Ash looked at the Ampharos and pondered for a moment, let it recover some of its strength first while the medicine is not here. Shock theme all, Ray Cow. Oh my ho-oh, it's a Ray Cow. Well, Ash and his group are used to hearing such exclamations from people. Ray Cow, recharge this Ampharos. Seeing that Ampharos was in better spirits after getting a little energy from Ray Cow, Jasmine felt relieved. But Ash said, Jasmine, this is just a temporary solution, not the root cause. We still have to go to Qianwood City to get the secret medicine back. Why don't you leave it to us? We can cure Ampharos as soon as possible, and in addition to that, I can also complete my gym challenge here as soon as possible. Is this really okay with you? Jasmine certainly didn't want to trouble Ash and his friends who were meeting with her for the first time. But Misty's focus was elsewhere. Qianwood City is on the other side of the sea, right? Ah, the cool sea breeze is calling me. For Miss Jasmine, I'm willing to go through mountain seas of fire, and Brock's ears was pulled away by Misty's hand before he continued to speak. In that case, the ship is about to leave. Jasmine hurriedly sent Ash and his party there because the regular ship to Qianwood City was about to leave. When they came to the foot of the tower, they met Janina again. Miss Jasmine. The onyx next to her was already clean. Janina. Jasmine saw her, looking a little nervous, and smiled and said, Can I ask you a favor? Then, Jasmine looked at Ash and said, I'm really sorry if I ask you to make an extra trip. Ash, there is also a gym in Qianwood City. Why don't you go and challenge the Qianwood gym first? I would also like to trouble you to take care of Janina on the way. Hearing this, Ash nodded as he didn't see any trouble with it. Such an arrangement would be like hitting two sparrows with one stone. Chapter 98 The Lapse. It only took one morning to take a boat from Olivine City to Qianwood City. Because the boat was relatively fast, Ash did not let Lapras out to swim with the group. The first thing to do when they reached Qianwood City is, of course, go to Qianwood Pharmacy to get Ampharos secret medicine. Here you go, this is the medicine you ordered. The pharmacy owner handed the secret medicine to Janina personally. Janina had to hurry up and catch the next boat back to Olivine City. If she is able to catch it on time, she could return back to Olivine City before evening, so that Ampharos could recover as soon as possible. Then we'll say goodbye here for now. Misty said a little sadly. After a little while, she started to like this little girl. Traveling is the process of constant encounters, constant separations, and constant reunions. After we get the storm badge at Qianwood Gym, we will go back to challenge Jasmine. Ash said to her. It was fun to battle against you and your Onyx. Can we battle against each other once again in the future, Janina? Molly held Janina's hand and smiled. She and Janina had become good friends after their battles, and now they are sad to see each other go the other way. Okay, it will be one-on-one, Molly, I won't lose to you next time. She felt a little embarrassed to lose to someone her age despite being trained by a gym leader. Then she looked at Ash. Then I'll leave for now, good luck Ash. After bidding farewell to Janina, Ash and his group were about to go to Qianwood Gym when they heard some sounds coming from the beach area. Curiously, they turned around and saw a burly middle-aged man fighting with a Machoke, hand to hand. Ash can also fight with Pokémon, but the ones weaker than his own Pokémons, the stronger ones requires the Pokémon to bring an item like Macho Brace, which restricts movement and restricts the use of certain skills. Ash wondered how strong must this guy be to fight against fighting-type Pokémon with bare hands? The uncle flew up his leg with a strong and quick kick, but Machoke was easily able to dodge it. The two separated and he said, Your fighting skills have improved a lot, Machoke. Hearing this, Ash nodded a little. Yes, the training for fighting-type Pokémon like Machoke is different from other Pokémon. This is also the reason why Ash is willing to keep Caesar in that Jujutsu/Ninjutsu Academy. On the one hand, Caesar wants to learn it himself, but more importantly, he can exercise his power in a way that Ash couldn't teach. It has all the qualities such as speed, but he cannot give it more professional skills that require experience. And a ninja's fighting-type skills are perfect for Caesar. The same is true for fighting-type Pokémon like Machoke. It can exercise its body on its own, making its whole body is full of muscles, but the fighting skills cannot be understood by oneself. If a physically strong Machoke who has never learned these things is to fight a physically weaker Machoke, it will most likely be the weaker Machoke that wins because of the technique and experience it has over the other one. This is the importance of a trainer, to be able to teach them the fighting techniques that suits them the best. The person in front of Ash should be a very experienced martial artist. In the same way, this should be the reason why the predecessor Ash left his newly caught Primeape to that con artist, Anthony. Going through the memories of the old Ash led him to find how his mental ally worked. He thought that this Anthony, who had just retired recently and became a coach in the P1 competition, so that he could spend more time with his wife and children and also be able to train his Primeape. The old Ash still never called Primeape back even though it has been years. This is a thing that Luke didn't like. It's a pity that Ash couldn't contact him for a while, so he has to ask Professor Oak. He believed there should be news about Primeape then. While Ash was thinking so wildly when he suddenly saw that the uncle suddenly ordered Machoke to use the move submission on him. This is one of the stronger attacks of the fighting series, an extremely deadly watch when used correctly. They saw Machoke standing on his head without mercy, using his legs to grip the uncle's neck, and then hugged his feet with his strong hands, and they rolled into a form and then jumped high. Finally, the uncle was extremely exhausted and hurt after going that high, then he was suddenly thrown out by that Machoke. He will be hurt if he falls. Brock exclaimed, he would be seriously injured even if he landed on the beach like this. A bluish-pink light flashed in Ash's eyes, and he looked at the old man with his ability. Is this psychic? The uncle was very insightful and immediately recognized that the blue light that caught him was one of the abilities of a psychic. Then Ash slowly put him down and the group rushed over. Unexpectedly, the uncle actually started crying. Even Machoke had tears in his eyes. I'm so moved that I can't help but crying. Molly walked over and said, Uncle, although my brother saved you, you don't have to be so moved. Unexpectedly, the uncle suddenly looked at Machoke and said, it's amazing. That attack of yours was so beautiful, Machoke. These two muscular men hugged each other and cried bitterly under the newly appeared sunset. Keep in mind that this is not even noon yet. The scene was so irritating that they didn't dare to watch it. Ash and his group were covered in sweat after seeing this, especially Ash. This reminded him too much of youth and a certain duo wearing interesting clothings. The uncle looked at Ash again. Young man, were you the one who saved me just now? I didn't expect to meet a young man who can use psychic after such a long time. Thank you very much for saving me. Looks like you are carrying Pokémon. You are a trainer, right? What is your name? He finally remembered to say thank you after all that. I am Ash from Pallet Town. This is Misty, Brock, Molly, Pikachu, and Meganium. Ash introduced everyone to him. So, are you going to challenge the Kianwood City Gym? The uncle's eyes seemed to detect everything, and his eyes were shining. Ash nodded, that's right. Then the weird uncle suddenly patted Ash's on the shoulder, then run 10 laps along this beach. Show me your youth. Youth. Looks like Ash jinxed himself. Seeing that the uncle and Machoke were obviously already training together, Ash was a little confused. Are you really going to run now? You have to run. He said with a determined attitude, if you want to challenge the Kianwood City Gym, you have to run. Ash didn't need to hear anything else. Pikachu, let's go and do this. Ash suddenly smiled, bring it on. Pikachu was a little reluctant, but still brought his macho brace along with him for the run. There are not many opportunities for him to carry this thing because most of the time he is riding on Ash's shoulders, but this is the perfect time for it. Brother, come on. Molly leaned on Misty and watched Ash run out with Pikachu. This beach itself is not that big or long, just average, so 10 laps is nothing to Ash. What's interesting is that this uncle also ran along. On the first lap, the uncle could barely keep up with Machoke and Ash. After all, Ash had to wait for Pikachu, who brought his macho brace along with him. Slowly, Pikachu got used to it and became faster. Pay attention to the sand. Ash caught up with the uncle from behind and whispered beside him. Look how fast Ash is compared to him. Brock, Misty, and Molly couldn't help laughing when they heard the uncle yelling. Tajapai was the one that looked having the most fun. When he ran to their side, he said to him, Uncle, Ash physique is almost that of a Pokemon, psychic, and fighting. You really shouldn't run with him. Watch out. This is Ash's 5th lap, surpassing his uncle by 2 laps. Don't be proud, kid. I just went soft on you this time. No one even believed what the uncle said, not even his own Machoke. We have 4 more laps left. This is Ash's 6th lap, surpassing the uncle by 3 laps. He is having a great time. Why is this kid running so fast? Why is he getting faster and faster instead of slowing? The uncle regretted this a little. Watch out. Ash's 10th lap was 6 laps ahead of this uncle, but he still hadn't stopped yet. He planned to finish as many laps as possible at the same time this guy finished his 10 laps. You kid. You can stop. Stop. Machoke, keep running. I was injured just now, so I won't run anymore. The uncle gave up quickly on the pretext of being injured. He must have been scared of Ash's speed. Stopping, the man lay down on the beach, exhausted, sweating, and out of breath. Chapter 99 The Return of the Monkey. So? Why were you running? The group followed Machoke and his trainer to a large dojo house, and Misty finally couldn't help but complain about this random guy they met. The reason is the uncle was really exhausted and couldn't speak clearly. He could only point in the direction of the house, and they began to understand it soon. Sure enough, several trainers came out of the house, bringing fighting-type Pokémon with them, calling this uncle teacher. This uncle is really a martial artist like Ash originally thought. In front of all his students, the uncle stood up forcefully and put on a very dignified look. Have you practiced well? They all said yes at the same like it has been practiced several times. Ash and everyone present, I welcome you to the Qianwood City Gym. I am a trainer who uses fighting-type Pokémon and the gym leader of the city Qianwood Gym, Chuck. The self-introduction was actually quite impressive. If only GE could stop being out of breath after saying it, that would have made it a much better introduction. After hard training, there is something very important one must do. Eat. Let's go, let's eat. Eat as much as you can. Eat as much as you can. Only when you are full can you have the strength to fight. Chuck was very sincere and filled Ash's bowl with a large portion of rice and other things. Thank you, it's very delicious. Molly was the first in the group to start and finish. She was very happy to eat the food, it must have been the good. What a cute little girl, please eat more if it's delicious. Chuck's wife was very happy that her cooking was praised, and she was also very happy to see them eating happily. You should be the challenger this time, right? She looked at Ash, you must work hard and beat down my husband as soon as possible. Where have we heard this before? The original Kanto group thought. If their memory serves correctly, Anthony's daughter seemed to have come to Ash back then, asking him to knock down Anthony so he would return back to his family. But judging from the loving couple they are, it doesn't seem like Chuck is the kind who will leave his wife. It's most likely because he trains way too much. After having enough drinks and food with everyone, Ash was not in a hurry to battle in the gym. He planned to go to the Pokémon Center first to digest it and get something done. It tasted really good. Misty also approved of today's meal and planned to go for a walk with Ash, otherwise she would gain weight from overeating and not enough exercise. No, it's not just about the taste. It's low in fat, high in protein, and easy to digest and absorb. This kind of food is perfect for replenishing the physical strength of trainers and their Pokémon after a long day of hard work. Brock looked at a table of clean plates and said seriously, this gym is very efficient and pays attention to their scientific training in both body and technique. I'm going to ask Madam for advice. Ash, your Pokémon training is very intense now. I think this recipe will be very helpful to you. With the breeder Brock is, it really saves Ash a lot of worries about things like these. After eating, it's time to exercise and burn those calories. Ash, let's fight. After eating, Chuck's physical strength seemed to have been restored to its usual. But Ash apologized and said, Mr. Chuck, I need to go to the Pokémon Center first and exchange a few Pokémon. Is that okay with you? After hearing Ash's words, Chuck nodded readily and let him go. Ash, I was just looking for you. That Anthony, whom you asked me to help contact, has news for you. As soon as the call was answered, Professor Oak told Ash the good news he wanted. Really? What does my Primeape say? Ash said in surprise. No problem, Anthony has retired and is now a coach, so Primeape will no longer have the chance to compete in the ring, so it's just the right time to give him back to you, his rightful trainer. I've already got his Pokeball with me. Professor Oak said with a smile. He has already checked this Primeape. It is very strong. Ash has gained another good partner for his current team. How about it? Do you want me to teleport him to you? Yes, I also want to thank you for Heracross. Ash originally planned to get his Heracross to come back and use a fighting type to fight against another fighting type Pokémon. He wanted him to have a head-to-head, fist-to-fist confrontation. Moreover, Ash's Heracross had a very high degree of compatibility with him from the moment he was caught by Ash. However, it was later sent to Professor Oak for research purposes, and he then scrambled to evolve his 3 royal starters, so Heracross's bond evolutions was delayed. However, from what he heard from Slowking and others showed that Heracross was training very hard in order to catch up with all his other Pokémons. Although Ash understands in his heart that not every Pokémon can complete their bond evolutions with him, there is no reason why Heracross cannot complete his with such a high degree of compatibility with him. But Ash, you already have 6 Pokémon with you? Which one are going to exchange for? You know, you could always send that Raycow of yours. Professor Oak really misses Raycow. Ash didn't refuse him this time, then I will send over my Raycow and Tyranitar over to you. As expected, I knew you were hiding something from me. But I really didn't expect you to catch a Tyranitar so soon. Professor Oak's eyes lit up. Now all the exp research he could do them is going to a whole new level. Now no thieves even dare to walk around or come close to his lab in the backyard because of all big guys in Ash's team. Blastoise, Venusaur, Typhlosion, Houndoom, Rhydon, Slowking, Snorlax, etc. Now another new member is sent back, this time it is a Tyranitar. He hoped at least this big guy has a better temper than the rest. Don't worry, she is very obedient and plays with Molly all the time. She might look scary but she is actually very kind and soft. Take good care of her. Ash discovered that Molly has a special talent and can play well with all his Pokémon, even grumpy ones like Houndoom and Typhlosion. Since she was going to be sent back, Ash exchanged it for a muscle band and gave it to Tyranitar. For her, a strong body is her strongest weapon. Show them your fist, Primeape. Arriving at the backyard of the Pokémon Center, Ash released his Primeape after a very long time. This Primeape is the 8th Pokémon that Ash captured while traveling in the Johto region. At that time, the predecessor Ash heard that Gary had sent back dozens of Pokémon back to the professor. When he met Primeape, which was still Mankey at the time, it even snatched away his hat, so he became angry with it and chased it. Later, it went on a rampage and evolved into a Primeape, but was still caught by his predecessor. The pure fighting type Primeape is very strong and wears black rings on his limbs. After being trained by Anthony and fighting in the ring for a long time, it has reached a height of 1.3 meters. It is also wearing the championship belt after winning the P1 competition. This is his glory. Primeape, long time no see buddy. Unexpectedly, Primeape suddenly launched an attack, hitting Ash with a left uppercut. The punch was fast, fierce and menacing, but Ash's whole body flashed with a dazzling blue light and he moved to avoid the punch. However, Primeape, who had been active in the ring for a very long time, attacked with an overwhelming force. Seeing that Ash successfully avoided it, Primeape grinned and seemed to say, "It looks like you have also been training hard, Ash. Well done." Ash seemed to be using a version of armament haki with his aura to protect himself and also to hit back. He raised his hand to block the blow, then took the initiative and punched Primeape in the face. Seeing this, Primeape's feet became even faster. It seemed that with just a slight tap, he took a small step back and avoided the punch Ash gave him. Then he squatted down and punched Ash in the stomach. Whether it's his reactions, skills, or strength, Primeape has been trained extremely well. Ash. This series of battles happened in an instant. Only then did Brock react and exclaimed. However, Primeape stopped in time, put down his posture, and actually pulled off his belt and handed it over to Ash. Looking at its narrow pupils, Ash seemed to understand his meaning. The previous glory and achievements are in the past, now he has returned, and its glory will be created with Ash. Ash took off the belt and put his hat on Primeape's head. Welcome back, partner. Primeape, 180/220. Chapter 100 vs. Chuck. The gym battle between Keyonwood City's gym's leader Chuck and Pallet Town's Ash Ketchum, with Badge as the bet, begins now. The number of usable Pokémon is 2 for each side. Ash returned to the Keyonwood City gym with something new and the battle begins immediately. Listen, Ash. The Pokémon I will use are Machoke and Poliwrath. As he spoke, Chuck summoned a Poliwrath, and Machoke stood beside him. This is the battle between martial arts masters, above board and straightforward. Ash expressed his appreciation for this kind of thing. When Misty saw that Poliwrath, she knew something about from just looking at it, that Poliwrath must have gone through rigorous training. Look at those muckles. This is the same for Ash's Primeape and Heracross. It's just that Primeape has just returned. I don't know if Ash can cooperate well with him after such a long time. After all, Ash doesn't even know the fighting skills learned by Primeape during his time with Anthony. Brock said immediately. Now comes the point of no returning. But in fact, Ash is not worried about this at all. What I will to use in this battle is my Primeape and my Heracross. Ash also summoned his 2 fighting-type Pokémon. Very good, Ash, I'm starting to appreciate you more and more. Chuck looked at Ash with a look of approval. He knew that this was Ash's special exchange to challenge his gym's lineup. Come on, Poliwrath! Chuck shouted loudly, and the Poliwrath rushed out with amazing momentum. Show them your Heracross! Faced with the momentum of this powerful dual water and fighting type, Ash was not afraid at the slightest. His heroic Heracross fluttered his insect wings and rushed out into battle. Boom! They began wrestling after the head-on collision. Heracross is a hero! Ash said in a light voice. Heracross's eyes suddenly opened, and the terrifying power from his horn suddenly burst out. Chuck's Poliwrath was thrown away in one hit. Poliwrath! Bring out your power! Use double slap! Arm thrust! 2 fighting-type Pokémon, he shot one and then I shot one. They were multiple attacks in a row, and Heracross caught and parried all the double slaps coming from the Poliwrath. Didn't he see the helpless look in Primeape's eyes behind him? What was he trying to do? Okay, no more fun time. When the 2 Pokémon separated, Ash's face suddenly darkened. Heracross, close combat! Heracross, who had just taken a step back, suddenly disappeared and appeared in front of the Poliwrath, punching it on his spiral/Lord Helix patterned belly. Poliwrath was knocked back several meters by the huge force behind those attacks, but Heracross still seemed to be glued to him. Heracross followed closely with the opposing Poliwrath, using his 2 strong fists and his strongest one, his horn, at the same time and hit the Poliwrath. Poliwrath! Show him your mighty muscles! Buff up! Chuck kept adding buffs to his Poliwrath, and then Chuck's Poliwrath suddenly opened his eyes and squeezed Heracross's arm tightly. Great, now is the time, use the Hydro Pump close quarter. Hydro Pump hit at close range and knocked Heracross away, however at the last moment. Heracross, use Aerial Ace! Then, when Ash's Heracross that was sent flying suddenly flapped his wings, made a spinning dive, and hit the Poliwrath head-on. This is a super effective move against the fighting-type Poliwrath. Poliwrath is unable to battle any further, meaning Heracross wins this battle. Ash took back Heracross. Heracross, you did a great job. Ash rightfully praised his Heracross for his victory against that Poliwrath. Chuck, who was opposite to him, was actually moved to tears again. He was really a good man with passionate emotions. You already did a great job, Poliwrath, and I will never forget your contribution. He took back his Pokémon, and the next step was his Machoke, the one he was training with before. Your turn, Primeape. Go show them your punches. Ash let Primeape go into this battle against Machoke. Come on, Machoke, use Brick Break. He readily ordered his Machoke to use Brick Break, hitting him with one palm after another. Come on, this is nothing. Show them your fighting spirit. Come again. What a cruel way to boost morale. After all, a Pokémon was defeated. For martial artists, a good morale is a very important thing to have. With high enough morale, half the battle is won before the battle even began. Ash saw Primeape next to him also eager to try and ready his rings, so he quickly stopped him. Don't hit me, those black rings of yours are very hard. Primeape scampered out. Ash, your Primeape is trained very well for his species. After Chuck was beaten the first battle, he looked at Ash's Primeape and couldn't help but praise it. As an expert in fighting-type Pokémon, of course he could tell at a glance how powerful and well-trained Ash's Primeape was. This must be a hard battle, so he must use this method to boost Machoke's morale. Of course. Ash accepted Chuck's praise without politeness. This is also a way to boost Primeape's morale. Come on! They both said at the same time. The next moment, the two of them roared in unison. Machoke, use Brick Break. Primeape, we also use Brick Break. The hands of both sides were slashed together. Just like Ash said, the black ring on Primeape's wrist is very hard. This is its very important weapon for moves like this. Primeape has the upper hand in this case because of them. Use Screech, now. This is a move that Primeape could already use when he met Ash for the very first time. A harsh sound erupted from Primeape's mouth, and Machoke suddenly lost his ability to defend himself from Primeape's attacks. Machoke! Chuck exclaimed, but Machoke couldn't hear him or anything in general other than that screeching. Now is the perfect opportunity, Thrash! Ash directly gave the order for Primeape to attack freely. Primeape's eyes flashed, and he punched Machoke in the stomach. Then he swept his feet and knocked Machoke to the ground with a sweeping kick. Machoke! Come on! Listen to me, Machoke. Chuck's voice finally reached Machoke's ears. Its eyes suddenly opened and it finally managed to push Primeape away from him. It pushed its hands on the ground and bounced off the ground. He finally got up. At this time, Primeape fell into a temporary confusion state because of the side effects of Thrash. Machoke, good job. Use your submission. Chuck also knew that his opportunity was coming, and immediately asked Machoke to use the submission skill that he had worked hard on before. Machoke hugged the confused Primeape and threw him to the ground together with him. He rolled desperately and controlled Primeape's body to fall to the ground. This move also caused a lot of damage to Primeape. However, it was also this move that solved Primeape's confusing state. Not only that, when Primeape opened his eyes again, his eyes were red with anger. Prime! It let out an explosive roar for the first time during the whole battle, and the cross veins on his forehead swelled due to rage, one after another. Chuck was also stunned and murmured, "No way, anger point." That's right, the ability of Ash's Primeape is exactly anger point. After being hit with a critical attack, its attack power will explode to his strongest. He looked at Ash, looking at his calm smile. "Ash, did you let Machoke attack it on purpose?" "Yes, this is the real power of Primeape and also the reason I told him not to do anything." Ash already understood the power of rage that Primeape has right now. Primeape, explode, close combat. The furious Primeape instantly appeared in front of the Machoke, stretched out his hand and pinched one of Machoke's wrists tightly. The red anger in his eyes made Machoke dare not look directly at him. This is true power. It held Machoke's wrist with one hand and punched him again and again. 1 punch. 2 punch. 3 punch. Punch after punch hit Machoke's body. Until he completely lost his ability to fight. Here across, 235/255. Primeape, 190/230.
Thanks for listening.